We're going to be live on Webkin in 3, 2, 2.5, 2.25, 2 and live. Okay. Give me a Roger, Victor, Vector over on your clearance cards. Is that a G2G? All right, good to go. Goodbye, Wimkin. I don't remember what movie that was when they were talking about. Oh yeah, it was Spy Game with Robert Redford and Brad Pitt, and he's talking to his wife, and he's like, "Operation Dinner Out."
Yep.
And then the guy's like, he talks to his wife. No wonder why he's divorced like 4 times. It was a good movie. Yeah. It was a little slow, but it was a good movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Chapstick.
But no, the movie wasn't about chapstick. What are we talking about chapstick for?
Do you have any that I could use?
I do. I just we're talking about Spy Game and Operation Dinner Out. What a shift. Here you go, punk. What is going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation? Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. We got a lot to go on. We got a whole bunch to talk about. We're going to be doing the debate at 9 o'clock. We're doing a goal tonight that's a little bit different than usual. Usually we have a monthly goal. And what we realize is that, like, when we do a 4-hour show, you know, those longer shows, it's really expensive. And we're trying to get people to see a smaller chunk of the pie here. So tonight's goal, we're going for 350. That's our focus. We want to hit it. We think that is a good number to pay for the broadband, pay for the streaming service, pay for everything else that we do. So if you can help out, go to thedumshow.com/donate. We would greatly appreciate it. It would mean the world to us if you can help out. Starting a new month and we're ready to go. And it seems like this is the way it is. Get done with one donation month and then we're right into another one. Anyway, we'll see you in 3 minutes. Thanks for everything. Livia's with me tonight, of course.
That's my mic okay? I sound quiet in my headphones.
Go ahead and talk.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
You're coming in pretty hot.
Would you mind turning up my headphones just a tad?
Yeah,
please?
and I'll do that for you. Love you. See you on the other side of this. There you go. Test. How about those Tigers? You got a phenomenal pitching game. Let's see if you guys can do that for 2 more games. Step into a Wimkin. Hey, Liv.
Hey, what?
You know, I was just thinking, I am in total shock that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden telling Iran to stop didn't work. You know?
I'm shocked, too.
Maybe they need to get back up there and say it a little more forcefully, like, stop.
Exactly.
I think that would work. I mean, you know, those Iran, they're just good people. They're misunderstood. They're just good people. Maybe we should throw them another $150 billion and see what they can come up with that. Why not? I mean, it's just good. We're just buying great policy. That's what it's all about. We got too much to do.
Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The DUM Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
Adjusting transmitter output. This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
Hey, Liv.
Hey, dear.
What's going on?
Not much, dear. How are you?
I'm good. Doe. Just a lot of deer going on. Doe, a deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun. Toilet paper with Kamala Harris. I want to wipe my butt.
Bum would have been better.
Bum? I want to
Bum, because it would have rhymed.
Oh. Yeah. How can bum rhyme and butt not rhyme? It's kind of close, isn't it?
Well,
bum and butt?
Because bum would have sounded better.
Okay. I mean, you know better than me. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. We are covering the debate tonight. We got a lot going on. Thank you for a donation immediately. Gosh, it's good to start out with a good donation. It's good. Folks, I want to explain
I didn't hear the noise that popped up. Normally it's got noise.
Damn it. I did the thing. First of all, Kevin, thank you.
It wasn't Kevin.
Oh, really?
Frank.
It was Frank?
Frank started out the
Frankie?
donations.
All right. So hold on. You can put it in if you want. Frank, thank you for the donation. That won't happen again. It was a new month and I forgot to reset it. Tonight's goal, folks, $350. The reason why we're doing that is really, if we want to just be really transparent, it costs about $100 an hour doing the show. And when you look at that, 2 hours, 5 nights a week, that's 10 hours, that's $1,000. It gets expensive. I mean, it's not cheap to run these shows, especially with broadband. So we like to do high quality. We like to do quality sound. So what we figure is that we're going to do a nightly goal. Plus, I think it probably feels a little awkward to see that number up there and people going, wow, that's a lot of money. I don't want to make people feel weird. We're going to try to just do a nightly show goal, and hopefully you can help us out. We would appreciate it. We've got a couple things that are going to be going on through the debate tonight. And if you want to advertise or excuse me, not advertise, but if you want to help donate to the show, you can. What do we do?
Did it just pop up? We just got another donation. And I saw something pop at the top of the screen, but you couldn't see it.
I did it. I was wrong. I screwed up. It won't happen again. Who was it?
It was Kevin.
Why is it doing this thing again?
Yeah, I like the other one.
Hold on.
So much better.
Okay, hold on. Something is wonky. It shouldn't be doing that tonight. I know what it is.
What did you do?
I can fix it right now. Tell people something.
Let me think.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'm officially let go from my company.
Oh my God, that's
That's about it. They officially fired us all today. They're not reopening.
Well, that's depressing.
So
that's depressing.
There we go.
But it is what it is. I'm fixing it. I'm going as fast as I can. I'm sorry. I know what's wrong. And manage themes and use. Okay. If you try it again, we should be good. And honestly, we're just going to see it with the first like we get from the show. So let me pull this up. And likes and shares. And we should see the normal one now. So we'll wait for it. Who was that from? Was that from Kev?
That was from Kev.
Kevin, thank you for the $10.80. We appreciate you. Listen, we got a lot to come over. We only got an hour, so we got to get busy. We got 15 minutes to do this. Once again, appreciate you. Thank you so much, and let's rock and roll. Kamala Harris with her first reaction from the Iran launching into Israel, and folks. I'm just going to say it right now. There it is. See, it looks good. If you vote for Kamala Harris, can I say this? Liv, should I say it?
Yeah. It's free reign. Free reign.
You're mentally, you're dumb as dog shit. If you vote for Kamala Harris, here it is. Just, I'm clear-eyed. I don't know what to say. I know. Listen, if Iran attacks, you should have absolutely no issue from standing up and without note cards, just crushing a statement. And it should be obliterating.
Yay! Woo!
Thank you, Joseph. There we go, folks. Thank you so much. That makes that's so much easier because it's a smaller goal. It's nightly. It's more intimate. It's it's more intimate. It's important. Let's go ahead and close that window. And let's come over here before I show this. I'm not ready. I built the slides for the other show. There we go. And dude, and our likes, we are so close to we're at 198,818. We're cracking a nut on Facebook. Here we go. Listen to this.
Clear-eyed, Iran is a destabilizing,
I can't do anything about the recording. It's not my fault. It's CNN. They suck.
dangerous force in the Middle East, and today's attack on Israel only further demonstrates that fact. Earlier today, I was in the Situation Room with President Biden and our...
Amy, I'm so sorry you lost your uncle. That sucks. I'm sorry. And God bless, and that's not fun at all.
national security team as we monitored the attack in real time and ensured that the protection of U.S. personnel in the region is paramount. I fully support President Biden's order for the U.S. military to shoot down Iranian missiles targeting Israel, just as we did in April. We are still assessing the impact, but initial indications are that Israel, with our assistance, was able to defeat this attack. Our joint defenses have been effective, and this operation and successful cooperation saved many innocent lives. As I have said, I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself against Iran and Iran-backed terrorist militias. My commitment to the security of Israel is unwavering. And let us be clear, Iran is not only a threat to Israel, Iran is also a threat to American personnel in the region, American interests, and innocent civilians across the region who suffer at the hands of Iran-based and backed terrorist proxies. We will never hesitate to take whatever action is necessary to defend U.S. forces and interests against Iran and Iran-backed terrorists. And we will continue to work with our allies and partners to disrupt Iran's aggressive behavior and hold them accountable. Thank you.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's too soft, and it doesn't.
It's not convincing. She just sounds like she's going up there reading from cue cards, and she doesn't mean one damn word that she said.
Yeah, it's very cringe,
nonchalant.
Yeah, it just seems like she's phoning it in, literally. You got to look into the camera when you're doing this. And here's the thing. I don't think that this administration has any desire to fight in any way, shape, or form the right way. And I guess you can ask me what the right way would be, Liv.
What would the right way be, dear?
Well, that's a great question. In order to hit Iran, the one thing Trump did is that they went from $8 billion in overall cash on hand revenue for their country and went to 150 plus billion under Biden. Biden has given them, under his administration, almost 100 billion. And you can break this down to several different things, but you need to hit Kark Island, and Kark Island is predominantly the Iranian mecca for oil productivity and oil processing. And if you hit that, you're going to send them back into the Stone Age. The thing is, and the reason why Biden and Kamala are such cowards on this and won't do it is because it is a declaration of war against Iran. When you're going after somebody's command and control, that's different. You go after a bunker, you go after a communications, they go after an ammo depot. You take out one of their ships. I mean, those are proportional responses. If you take out Iran's complete capability to make a living, you're declaring war against Iran. And honestly, here's the thing. There is a fantastic opportunity right now to address one of the biggest concerns we have with Iran is their nuclear capabilities. And Israel is ready for this. Israel is absolutely ready. And in my eyes, I think the world has misjudged them. They are ready to fight a multi-front war. They are going after Hezbollah in the north. They're going after the Houthis in Yemen. They're going after Hamas in Gaza and West Bank. The IRGC is next in Iran, in Syria. They are taking it to Iran. So they're willing to have a 5-country war right now. And I think every single piece of intel was that that Israel could not fight a multifaceted war across multiple countries. Well, they're proving everybody wrong. Today, what happened in Israel, in Tel Aviv, all this is going to do is increase the resolve of the Israelis. It's just going to piss them off even more. And they've already demonstrated that they can prosecute and kill your leaders. Now, they have full reign to go after the Ayatollah. They can go after the Shah. They can go after the clerics. And they will. Iran is about ready to get their dicks knocked in the dirt by Israel. The question is, will the United States step up and allow the Israelis to do what they're supposed to do versus telling them don't?
So here's another question.
Yeah.
Is Kamala already president? Because shouldn't
Yes.
our president be up there doing that instead of her?
Yep. She's been the president since he stepped down. Joe Biden hasn't been the president in a year and a half. And I truly believe the bike falling incident was kind of the moment where, and I don't think he's been making decisions ever. Don't get me wrong, but I'm talking about de facto state as president. Iran has listen. They took out 78% of Hezbollah leadership within a week. And I don't think people understand their capabilities. They know where to hit Iran. They know that they're predominantly a defensive country. Their integrated air defense systems are incredible. Thank you, Bobby. We appreciate you. Thanks for donating. Nice to see people helping out. Thank you. So you have a situation where Iran has to save face. This is what I've tried to explain with every one of these terrorist cells that they proxy, is they had to save face because literally Israel's just doing whatever the hell they want. They're hitting these targets with absolutely, somebody ban Tom Wright, please. Yeah, ban Tom Wright. If he does it one more time, ban him.
One more time.
Okay, ban him. Bye, Tom. See you, dude. So it just comes down to they're in a complete. Here, I'll do it.
I did it.
They're in a complete show me state right now, where Israel is hitting them and then they have to retaliate or they lose face, but their retaliations are nothing. Avraz air base is not taken out. Mossad wasn't taken out. Iran is out there running these horrible, stupid freaking videos that they took out major air bases in Israel, that they've taken out Mossad headquarters. None of this is true. The great thing about the Iron Dome is that it will pick up most things. They're saying they're launching hypersonic missiles. Iran's not launching hypersonic missiles. Their version of a hypersonic missile is being launched, and it's not defeating Iron Dome. Ultimately, Iron Dome is negating targets that are going to land in certain areas that are going to create zero casualty. This is the great thing about Iron Dome, is it can understand the trajectory of these missiles. It identifies by the speed what type of missile it is. It understands its targeting system. It understands its strike package. So when these things come in, it can make a decision. Okay, we're going to let this one fall. We're going to go ahead and hit these targets. Some hit targets. There's no doubt. There's video of a man who was literally standing on a street corner, and the size of a car fuselage of one of these rockets just crushed him. It literally drops out of the sky and just crushes the guy. Liv, I don't know if you're listening to me. I am talking to you.
Okay.
What are you doing?
I'm saying hi to everyone.
Okay, that's it. Hi. No, you're done now because I'm talking to you. So they're falling out of the sky, and obviously those are doing more damage than the projectiles and the warheads from the missiles. It's okay. Say hi to everybody. We got a lot to do tonight. You're doing your job. Do your thing. Don't listen to me, and I'll just pretend like I'm talking to everyone else versus talking to you. Okay. Let me show you this video. This is 100% confirmed. I can't I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna be like, nope, that's CGI. It's AI. It's not. Let me just turn this down. God, I hate Twitter. Fuck, I hate Twitter. I am officially gonna have to stop using Twitter. Not that Elon Musk cares, because I'm constantly being throttled by his ass and his old software too. But I'm so tired of not being able to play videos. Hold on, I got to close this and restart it. Okay, can we do this?
Yes.
I'm not talking to you anymore.
Oh.
You're not involved. You're texting people. I don't rely on you anymore. You're out of my life.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So this actually is 100% true. Guys standing on a street corner. This isn't a joke in any way, shape, or form. It's not CGI. This is 100% confirmed. This was a rocket that was fired by Iran. And this is the fuselage of the rocket, not actually warhead, which was hit by probably Iron Dome based upon the size. And this is it re-entering and coming to ground.
So this is in Israel, this video right here?
I believe so. This might be, no, this is.
Oh my God. Holy cow.
Yeah, hoary crow.
Poor dude. Oh.
Yeah, that's.
He's a goner.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. He's deader than dead. He didn't even know what hit him.
Dumb fucking luck to be on that corner.
Yeah, and you know, when you think hit by missile, you don't actually think hit by missile in that way. It's explicit. It's not great to see. You know, I'm not excited about showing it to you. But here's an update from Joe Biden.
I wonder, what is your message to Hezbollah and its backer, Iran? Don't come.
Don't.
As President Biden said, just don't.
Exactly. One word. Pretty straightforward. Don't.
They're such feckless cowards. They're not going to do anything. Listen, it's our dollars funding. Holy shit, it's going to be a long night. It's our dollars funding the attack going on in Israel, and it's our weapon system shooting them down. I mean, it's a conundrum that you can't even possibly. Here, let me explain it to you, Liv.
Yes.
The terrorists are funded by our tax dollars. The Israelis are funded by our tax dollars. And the U.S. military that's going to back up the tax dollars that are in Israel and shoot down the tax dollars coming from Iran are from our tax dollars with our military. Does it get any better than this? What did I miss?
That all the missiles are made by our tax dollars.
Essentially, because we fund it on all fronts. I mean, this is the ridiculousness of this. They have absolutely no desire to end this. Here is a quick video on some of the strikes, just so you can kind of see them and be aware.
And we can't see if there's missiles.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, you got to give me a second.
Got it. Sorry.
So, needless to say, pretty deadly. In the sense that if you launch that many missiles, some are going to get through. Those are not hypersonic missiles, by the way. You want to be able to see a hypersonic missile. Liv, do you understand hypersonic missile? What it means?
I would assume it's really, really fast, but no, I don't. If you asked me to define it, I could not.
Okay. So hypersonic missiles specifically move in a speed that most integrated air defense systems in anti-air can intercept. Does that make sense?
So they're too fast to
Yeah.
be intercepted? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Now, it's my understanding Now, Iran is saying that these hypersonic missiles were going to be launched from mainland Iran. But it's my understanding that the IRGC has hypersonics right now, the Fatah 2, which is coming from Syria, eastern side of Israel. And we know that those weren't launched to that we know of, that this was all from Iran mainland. So there's multiple different types of missile systems, but the ones that Iran have ultimately are just kind of the next gen, fourth gen state of missiles, and they are not true hypersonics in the sense of overwhelming speed. I'm going to show you a video real quick. Sorry, got to do fast fingers here because we're almost out of time. Here is an example. Let's see if I can show this. Yeah, I can show this. Okay, here's a Zircon missile, and this is Russian ship-based, okay? And you can just get an idea of what it looks like. So it looks like a pretty standard cruise missile. Not anything unbelievable. But when we go to a hypersonic missile, so you can see its capability, let's see if I can find this video. This was fantastic. Oh, where did it go? 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 Hold on. There was a fantastic comparison video that I saw that really kind of shows you, and they may have gotten rid of this. Thank you for the super chat, Nancy Jennings. That will pull up in just a second. Go ahead and add this broadcast. Here, let me give you. No, that's not a good one. They had these great side-by-side video of a hypersonic missile compared to all other hypersonics, where you can check all the way from like Mach 12, 13 to some of the slower sets like the Fatah. Here's an example of, this isn't really going to give you, but here's an idea, Liv.
Okay. That's really freaking fast.
And that's pretty. I mean,
how fast do they go? Or can you not tell me that?
No, well, I can give you the basics. Some of the fastest go between Mach 11 and Mach 16.
And what is that? What is Mach?
Times the speed of sound. So you're looking at Mach 1. Overall speed of sound is what, 800 and it's not 830. I had this. Let me find out. I don't remember what it is anymore. 767. So 767 miles an hour. So it's 11 times 700. So 8,000.
7,600.
Yeah, it's more than that. It's almost 9,000 miles an hour. So when you want to look at the Concorde jet that goes around, it goes supersonic. The Concorde goes the speed of sound. I think it's probably Mach. I don't know. I know it's speed of sound. Maybe like 1.6 Concorde speed of sound. 1,354 miles an hour. So it's actually Mach. Let me do the math. 1,354. 760. So Mach 2.04 is what I'm coming up with. Do the math for me. 767 divided by 1,354 divided by 767.
Divided by 767.
Yes, ma'am.
1.77.
That's not right.
Are you trying to figure out how fast it goes?
Yeah, because
so
Mach
767.
That
Mach
would be
11.
1,400. That would be 15. So it should be Mach 2.04 is what I was coming up with. How fast is Mach 1?
Well, if you said Mach 1 was
I'm
the
looking
speed
at
of
it.
sound, it would be
770 miles an hour.
Okay.
So Mach 2 would be 1540. Okay, so what did it come up with? 1.8, 1.7? Is that what you said?
1.77.
Okay, that's close enough. So Mach 2. That's the Concorde. So that moves incredibly fast. But some of these missiles move faster than any jets that we have. I want to find this video. Oh, I found it. I think I found it. Hold on. See, the problem with hypersonic missiles is unless you're sticking a high payload warhead on that, they're unpredictable. Their targeting systems, the computers that they have are not as reliable as a steady rate Mach 3, Mach 4 type missile, because the systems required to adjust at that speed, also the adjustments that you can make. Understand that when you move the Titanic, okay, because it moves so slow, how long did it take to turn the Titanic?
I don't know.
Okay, well, it took
too long.
Yeah,
it still hit the iceberg.
Right, took miles. It was like a stuck pig, right? Mm-hmm. So the same principle holds true when it comes to overall physics. If something that is moving incredibly fast, an overcompensation of fin or overall control would have a drastic impact on the targeting, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine going 110 miles an hour and you stick a little finger out the window. What happens to your hand? Even just the tip of your finger. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you go ahead and you put a fin or a rudder or something from a missile going at that speed, going Mach 11, can you imagine what would happen to that? What type of control you would have, where the overall, just a micro movement could literally throw you hundreds of miles off course. These are the problems that they have with hypersonic missiles, is that they're not extremely reliable as far as accuracy.
Does the Iron Dome use Patriot missile system?
Patriot system technology. You have David Sling. You have multiple systems. You've also got direct energy air defense also inside Israel. So you've got multiple systems. Now, intercepting a hypersonic missile with the current state of technology that Israel has, I can't really go into that. I could just tell you that the missile systems would have to be launched prematurely, and you have to close the ratio in distance. So by the time it enters the overall airspace and radar control of a system, it's going to be past it. You understand? Mm-hmm. Because that missile system in defense is going to have, first of all, it's a reactionary system, right? It's a reactive, it's not proactive. So when it picks it up and that thing enters the overall radar capability of Iron Dome or David Sling or whatever it would be, it has to go ahead and have enough time to launch, gain speed, and intercept. And if that thing's moving at Mach, and they're not, Iran does not have the capability to move these things at Mach 11. I would assume, I have to look at the Fatah and the other missile systems. They're probably, in my opinion, are probably going to be moving between maybe Mach 4, Mach 5, 6, maybe even 7. And that still is an incredible amount of speed compared to the Iron Dome and other systems. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't have the video, and honestly, we can't afford the full rundown of these. But man, I promise you this: I will find this video, and we're gonna have to watch it. I'm trying to see if I've got one on. You see, the problem is that you can't see a hypersonic video.
The United States has.
You can't see a hypersonic missile on video. So when you see them come in, they move so fast. It's literally, it's not, you're not even gonna see it in frame. You'll see the impact, and you may see the contrail of it and the light source. And of course, the light source is still not going to be outpaced by going Mach 11. That's ridiculous. Speed of light's faster than anything that they can do from speed of sound. But you will see the light source entering the frame, but the missile will literally, you'll see the light and then it's going to hit. I mean, it's going to be instantaneous. Here's an example.
test flight of a missile that's 5 times faster than the speed of sound. The Pentagon said on Monday that it has conducted a free flight test for an air-breathing hypersonic weapon last week, the first successful test of this class of weapon since 2013. This comes amid an escalating arms race, with Russia already successfully testing the Zircon hypersonic cruise missile in July. The U.S. weapon was built by Raytheon Technologies, whose weapons program manager said that this progress offers the next generation capability to the U.S. military.
See, and the interesting thing is that when you launch this thing, you have to launch it from a distance away in order for it to actually gain speed and get to its overall optimal speed. So these things are usually launched hundreds of miles away. So last thing we're going to say about Israel, and we can get off hypersonic weapons, because honestly, it's an extremely fast weapon, but then you're also talking about accuracy. It's way above the innovation has surpassed the targeting systems that are available right now and the capabilities for aerodynamics for these missiles to be extremely effective. They're not good. If you have one launched at an aircraft carrier, there's a lot of our systems that are conventional that won't be able to intercept it. But you also have to worry about the targeting system. Here's the thing: is there are F-22s that are operable inside Israel, and they could send in 20 of these F-22s. I think Israel has 52 F-22s, and they don't even have to go into Israel airspace to completely deliver every single one of their payloads and crush Israel. The days of us flying into Iraq and bombing and seeing AAA and conventional countermeasures is over. So over the horizon targeting is you have F-22s that can fight a war 500 miles away. So these guys could literally be flying in Saudi Arabian airspace. They could be flying in Israel airspace and still interact with Iran. So what I want people to understand is that Iran is about ready to have a very bad day.
Good.
And that's pretty much it.
Got a question.
Yeah. Sorry.
Nancy had a question with her super chat.
Okay.
Biden opens up Russia's pipeline, then sends billions to Ukraine. Whose side is he on? Who is he trying to suck up to?
So I want Nancy, I'm sorry. We will answer your question. I apologize. Sometimes I go long in the tooth. I want to read it in particular. I'm looking for it. Okay. Biden opens up Russia's pipeline, then sends billions to Ukraine. Whose side is he on? Who is he trying to suck up to? Well, Nancy, the thing is that the same thing can be said to Iran. I mean, we just signed a new package deal, $3.63 billion to Israel every year until like 2035 or something to that effect, which is understood. But he's also given billions to Iran. I mean, this isn't the first time. So the thing about Democrats is that they literally hedge their bets. They believe money is the ultimate motivating factor for countries. What they do not understand about Middle Eastern Islamic extremists is that they're not motivated by money except to get money to perform terrorist acts against their enemies and the infidels. They don't care about money per se. These aren't Arab princes in Saudi Arabia. These are fundamentalist extremists. These are Sunnis, Shias, Kurds who have been at war for thousands of years. And their idea of that they enjoy more than killing other Muslims is killing Jews and killing infidels from the West and Western civilization. So he is trying to make peace through economic strength. And that didn't work in World War I. It didn't work in World War II. It didn't work in Vietnam and Korea. It didn't work in Iraq. It didn't work in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, OIF, OEF. And it's certainly not going to work in Ukraine. If the United States continues to pump $150 billion every 2 years into Ukraine, and it's closer to like 178 because I just gave them another $8 billion last week, they will have surpassed, listen to this, Liv, over 75 years of giving Israel its entire standing military defense, infrastructure, foreign aid outside of military expenditures, a total of $156 billion. Now, there's idiots that came on my page today. They're like, no, it's not. It's $363 billion because of inflation. So if you take the 5 and carry the 0, it's Why don't you just admit you hate Jews? So it's really $158 billion is what they've given Israel. Now, and if you're going to talk about inflation, then you have to talk about the last 2 years where we've seen an overall 22 to 25% overall in compounded interest from inflation. Doesn't matter that it's lowering now. That money is still there. Prices are up. So if you go ahead and compare that, then Joe Biden replacing all of our military hardware from Cold War, which is still relevant stuff, Stinger missiles, ammunition, that's all needs to be replaced. And that's going to cost us $75 billion plus the 22 to 25% extra tag. So don't sit here and tell me that we've given the Jews $363 billion. We've given them 158. And what 158 was 75 years ago is different than what it is today. It doesn't matter. At the time, our overall revenue, our overall budget was indicative of the money we gave them. So I don't want to sit here and do that. But if you look at Ukraine, in 75 years, if we continue to give the money that we have given them in the last 2 years, I think it comes out to something like $7 trillion. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you, Mel.
You're talking trillions of dollars to the entire Afghanistan war. What we gave them when we gave them that $72 billion is what 2 years in Afghanistan cost. You had forward operating bases. You had multiple units to deploy. You were servicing 130,000 troops with food, with fuel, with resupply. You were giving money for infrastructure. You were building up these bridges. You were paying off and annexing black market weaponry. In Afghanistan, that was an entire country. We're talking Ukraine to hold Kyiv is $158 billion in 2 years. Give me a break. I want receipts. So to answer your question, Nancy, Joe Biden is doing what Joe Biden always does. He is afraid to pick a side. Democrats are weak. They're feckless. They do not like to have open conflict. Their biggest fear is having troops on the ground. They're terrified of it. They're scared of it. And everyone knows it. And they're non-committal. And this just inspires people to attack. So he's trying to play both sides of the coin. That's the answer to your question. Thanks for your $5.
To think Nancy Jennings just gave $2 again.
Thanks.
You.
Thanks,
Kevin just ordered coffee.
Oh,
The FJB, the Moab, and the Tomahawk.
oh, dude, this is such good stuff. It is so freaking ridiculously good. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. I hope you love it. And you want some more of it.
He just wants to know, he ordered it 10 minutes ago. Why doesn't he have it yet?
Yeah, because your expectations are ridiculous. So that's funny. Why do I feel as an American no one has my back? Well, Nancy, here's the thing. The United States government is always going to work in the best interest of the United States government, but there's plenty of people here who have your back. A lot of retired military, current veterans, sheriff's department, city police don't give a shit about you. State police probably care quite a bit about you. There's a lot of people in the United States who care, but this is our government. I mean, listen, anyone who went through COVID should understand that the United States government gives no shits about us. I mean, have you even slowed down and just really thought about what took place during COVID? The restrictions, the utter nonsense that they put us through, where you can walk through an entire restaurant, you have to wear a mask, but the moment you sit down, you can go ahead and put one on and somehow we're safe. That plexiglass in the middle of the restaurant is somehow going to avert COVID. That it's 3 feet, 6 feet, 3 masks, 2 masks, 1 mask, 3 vax, 1 vax, 2 vax. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and they locked an entire country down, an entire world down over a serious flu. It was a flu. And when you look at it on the scale of epidemics that the world's gone through, it doesn't even place, like it's like 17th of all time. Yes, there was a lot of people who died, but the overall ways that they were categorizing these deaths was a little bit ridiculous. When you incentivize hospitals to have a positive test, you pay them more. When someone actually is admitted and they're sick, you pay them more. And when they die of COVID, you pay them more. Please tell me which director of the hospital is not going to go ahead and say, oh, this person had COVID. It may have been a motorcycle accident, or maybe their head was lopped off by a freaking, a LARPer. But either way, they had COVID, so that was their cause of death. these numbers were incredibly bad. The overall efficacy of the vaccine, of what they said it would do versus what it did, were completely bunk. The United States government, my trust, Sean Ryan, Navy SEAL, CIA, he has a great show, better than my show. Watch him because he's fantastic. Was on with Joe Rogan, and Joe asked a great question. He's like, dude, you're CIA, you're SEAL. When did you lose trust? And he's like, COVID. And of course, I'm like, dude, you worked for the government. You worked with the same shadow operations that I worked with, and you just realized that. But the thing is, he's right. What Sean said was, I was in it. We were in it. We didn't see it. When we were doing support for intelligence, when we were supporting the teams, or we were supporting an alphabet agency or working TDY with an alphabet agency, when you're in it, you're not thinking about it. But when we look at Iraq and Afghanistan, and we look at where we've been in Mogadishu, you look at what happened in Libya, you look at what happened with Syria, Bosnia, Herzegovina, I think most vets will tell you they have no effing clue why we were there. And it proved it with Afghanistan. After 21 years, you ask any vet, do you feel that you accomplished something? Everyone will tell you no, because we left it exactly like we entered, with Taliban in control. So I happen to agree with Sean Ryan that when COVID took place is when I was like, okay, you know what? I am done with having faith in our government. And I don't. I've always questioned them. I've always challenged them, but I could always look at the greater good. I don't see the greater good anymore.
Oh.
What about you, babe?
I don't see it anymore. I have no trust in the government. It's just none. They have given us no reason to trust them.
Right.
And, and especially Republicans, because the Democrats are completely hypocritical, and it's do as I say, not as I do. So we do what they do, and we're horrible human beings for it, but we can never win. And it's ridiculous.
It is.
I think the entire political system needs to be revamped completely.
Oh, yeah.
And I think every single politician that is currently in their seat, all the way down to governors,
yep,
I think need to be removed, and we need to have new elections.
God, wouldn't it be great?
System.
Wouldn't it be great?
Because especially I know we've always talked about it, but what would fix it is term limits. Not having these lifelong politicians who are earning millions upon millions of dollars each year because of these political action committees and being bought off.
Yeah.
You have your 4 or 6 years or 8 years or however long it is, and give them limits, and it's going to stop all that.
Yeah. Well, you got to get the money out. I mean, term limits is a secondary solution. All of it's Band-Aid on cancer. Until you take the money out of Washington, until you literally lock that city down, and you essentially have legislators there, judges there, county clerks, municipality, the people who work in the agencies, and you stop all civilian interactions in Washington unless they're petitioning the government or they're on official business, you remove all lobbyists. You need to it needs to literally be what it was supposed to be, a district. It was not a state. Its overall representation should be based on that your legislators are there, and it should be communal voting based upon what's in the best interest of your country. I don't believe it should have any elected representatives in Washington, D.C. It should be autonomous from the United States, and it's not. Let's go ahead and watch this, folks. If you have not, please, I know money's tight, but it has already begun.
It's freaking massive. Something's going on.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, look at it. And it even snakes all the way from over there, back there, around here.
This is insane.
I mean, it's going to take me literally more than a minute to walk all the way down here. In case there's any good samples.
If the hoarding has begun, people are absolutely stupid. And this is going to create the dock workers thing, honestly, is going to have a delayed reaction. Whatever they do is going to be 90 days from now. But this is what's going to cause it, is an overreaction. That's where
the toilet paper came from.
Yep. People are going to go out and they're going to buy in abundance. So whatever you're trying to, you can have a choice. You can go out there and hoard like these people, but this is what happens. This is the domino effect. And in a situation where lifeboats, there were plenty of lifeboats for the old ship that was sinking, minus the Titanic, where there weren't enough. But people will capsize a boat because they all want to get off now. And if everyone would just get off orderly in a calm and concise manner, they would survive. Instead, what they do is they have a mob mentality, fight or flight kicks in, and they capsize the lifeboats. That is what happened in Titanic. And a lot of people died because people capsized those vessels when they were in the water. So, that's what happened. Listen, it's easy to say, well, just die, take your medicine. That's different. This is an overreaction, but these dock workers, I mean, this is what I have to say. Democrats, you created this fucking monster. This is your fault. They're like, this is our worst nightmare. You created it. You support the unions. We don't want unions. Unions are completely outdated and worthless.
Yes.
Donald Trump is going to go ahead and support the unions and say that, but he doesn't give a fuck about the unions. None of us do. We're Republicans. Earn your keep. We don't give a shit. We don't believe in the teachers' unions. We don't believe in the freaking Teamsters. We don't believe in the dock workers, the truckers. All of you. You're worthless. Get out of your fucking union. Save your dues, right? Earn it by merit. Don't earn it from collectivism. I think unions are a waste of time. I have opposed them my entire life. I refuse to work in any group with unions. And now they're going to hold you hostage. And you're going to have to, here's the thing, Joe Biden is going to have to intervene. They were offered 50% today with no automated workers, and they turned it down. They want 77% and 100% for 10 years, no automation, because this is where I got to defend them too. And the thing that you guys need to understand is that anyone who has all the answers doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. I don't have all the answers, because I'm going to give you both sides of the equation. The Teamsters are fighting this.
Long Beach, and ILA is fighting against this right here. I'll tell you right now. See that? There's nobody there. Automation. I work at an automated dock. It's no joke. They're losing thousands of jobs. So you got all these machines. Look at all these machines right here. There's no people. They ain't paying no taxes. They ain't paying no money. This is what ILA is fighting about. This all used to be filled with top handlers, UTR drivers, clerks, all this yard. Look how big this yard is, and there ain't hardly any people on this thing. This is what they're fighting about. I work at an automated dock right here, Port of LA, Long Beach. Keep fighting, brothers. Keep fighting.
And I respect that. But guess what? I'm sorry. Innovation has put plenty of people out of jobs. The printing press, the seed drill. Unfortunately, this is the way technology is. And this is what the automotive departments had to go through. And the unions fought it. And they said, no, you need to increase our pay. You're pricing yourself out of jobs. This is why American manufacturers want to leave. Now, are these dock workers absolutely important? Yes. But can we stop? Most of these guys make $135,000 a year, $200,000 with overtime. They make extremely high quality money. The head guy, the guy with the gold chain who's threatening and saying that we're going to go ahead and shut it all down. And, this guy.
Right. When my men hit the streets from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the companies money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. Nobody does.
I wonder if he went to his Guma's house after this interview.
I was going to say,
just curious.
The guy made $880,000 last year.
Is he in Tony Soprano's crew?
Dude,
just a thought. He's wondering.
He's a putz. And honestly, it's going to hand the election to Donald Trump. 80,000.
Jeez.
Almost $1 million. And this guy's
Are you
bitching.
serious? And he's bitching that he wants more money? Fuck him.
Yeah. Dude, you know what? Here's what I would do. Is I would just say, we're going to absolve the unions. I'm going to write an executive order. We're going to absolve all the unions. But it hands Trump the presidency. Biden is too feckless. He wants to play both sides. He wants to be pro-union, but he wants this to stop. This is going to cost her the election because it's not going to be the workers. It's going, mark my words, people are going to go on spending sprees for Christmas, everything else. They're going to buy everything they can and hold on to it. Okay. That is going to create a high demand. But supply is going to be impacted because all these ships are going to be backed up, which will ultimately create what they consider price gouging, which will be the open market putting soap on the fucking Amazon for $100 a bar. We saw this. Don't you remember when body soap that we can get for $2.19 right now was costing $25, $30 on Amazon? This is what will happen. This is going to kill Kamala Harris. But so what do you want to do? Do you want to sit here as a Republican and say, good, this is going to help Trump win? To me, fuck these guys. I hope Biden fucking absolves the unions. I hope he literally goes and says, all right, fuck all y'all. You're out of here. I'm now going to go ahead and take that state's top 5% of their unemployed workers, and we're going to go ahead and give them a job. And we're going to go ahead and do it for this cost. And you're responsible within 1 year to retrain them on this. And I guarantee those companies will do it. Just absolve the unions. Enact Taft-Hartley, put them back to work, and then fire them. Do what Reagan did. Reagan fired these fuckers. And they got a message. All right, we're going to watch the debates, folks. We're going to switch over real quick. We're excited to bring them to you. They'll be uninterrupted, minus any commercials that we have.
Take a potty break.
Go take a potty break. This isn't free, folks. You know, you got to pay for your cable bill. You got to pay for your lights. You got to pay for your internet. Same thing with us. We do these shows. We have really, everyone's been helping out tonight. Tonight's goal is $350. We're going to give it to you free no matter what, but we would appreciate it if you can help us by going to thedumshow.com/donate. We now take Venmo, PayPal, and mail. You can also go to thedumshow.com, pick up some shirts, pick up some hats, some coffee. We have got amazing veteran-made coffee from Wisconsin, made by Army. It's Army Fresh. The day you order, he roasts it. He's on vacation. He's going to start roasting again on Thursday, and then all these will go out. He's got like 40 bags to make for the Don't Unfriend Me show, so we're really excited about that. Yeah, he did fire air traffic controllers, but they were still union-based. That's my point. Debate is not on yet, but we're going to go ahead and switch to our debate coverage. If they go to commercial, we go to commercial. But that's about it. Okay? Let's see if we can get this thing rocking and rolling. You will have a little bit of chat. Reagan fired him. You will survive because honestly, it's just like Major League Baseball. It's just like anything else. You just put in the next one up. I'm sorry, but I just don't give a shit. I hate unions. I think they are thugs, and I can't stand them. Sorry. You guys need to let me know where I should put these. I think what I'll do is put them over here. Hi, babe. Love you. You got yourself a snack.
Yeah.
Did you get me a little snack?
Would you like a snack?
No, not anymore. It doesn't mean as much, and when I have to ask you to do it. All right, folks, here we go. Can your show be picked up on Wimkin tonight? Yes, Carrie, we're over on Wimkin. Yep. Are they not covering it?
To face in just a few moments as there is a very active backdrop. The debate begins in moments. Thanks for watching it here with us on Fox News. Tonight's matchup comes as the U.S. faces escalating crises. Hurricane Helene to Iran's unprecedented strikes into Israel, all of that weighing heavily on the campaigns and the stage tonight.
Okay, shut up. Let's
so
watch
the
this.
running mates share a Midwestern background, and they are expected to lay out starkly opposing views on several key issues. We're going to see how it all plays out on that debate stage. Stay with us for post-game analysis, of course, and reaction afterwards.
Post-game.
It's a sporting event.
Good evening. I'm Nora O'Donnell, and thank you for joining us for tonight's CBS News vice presidential debate. We want to welcome our viewers on CBS, on other networks here in the U.S. and around the world. We have a consequential night ahead, and our focus is the issues that matter to you, the voter. Let's introduce the candidates. Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz and Ohio's Republican Senator J.D. Vance tonight meeting for the first time.
I'm Margaret Brennan. In order to have a thoughtful and civil debate,
this is already
these are the rules that both campaigns have agreed to. Questions will be directed at one candidate who will have 2 minutes to respond. The other candidate will be allowed 2 minutes for rebuttal. Then each candidate will get another minute to make further points, with an additional 1 minute each at the discretion of the moderator. The primary role of the moderators is to facilitate the debate between the candidates, enforce the rules, and provide the candidates with the opportunity to fact-check claims made by each other.
CBS News reserves the right to mute the candidates' microphones to maintain decorum. We have not shared the questions or topics with the campaigns. The stage is set. Governor, Senator, thank you for joining us. Let's get started.
God, thank God that cringe
music. Our country is
music.
facing several unfolding crises. The Middle East is on the brink of war. Americans are suffering from the catastrophic impact of Hurricane Helene. And now a labor strike as 25,000 dock workers from Maine to Texas are picketing. We're going to begin tonight with the Middle East. Margaret.
Thank you, Nora. Earlier today, Iran launched its largest attack yet on Israel, but that attack failed, thanks to joint U.S. and Israeli defensive action. President Biden has deployed more than 40,000 U.S. military personnel and assets to that region over the past year to try to prevent a regional war. Iran is weakened, but the U.S. still considers it the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, and it has drastically reduced the time it would take to develop a nuclear weapon. It is down now to 1 or 2 weeks' time. Governor Walz, if you were the final voice in the Situation Room, would you support or oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you. And thank you for those joining at home tonight. Let's keep in mind where this started. October 7th, Hamas terrorists massacred over 1,400 Israelis and took prisoners. Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental. Getting its hostages back, fundamental, and ending the humanitarian crisis in...
My dad would say he's nervous as a whore in church.
Gaza. But the expansion of Israel and its proxies is an absolute fundamental necessity for the United States to have the steady leadership there. You saw it experienced today, where along with our Israeli partners and our coalition, able to stop the incoming attack. But what's fundamental here is that steady leadership is going to matter. It's clear, and the world saw it on that debate stage a few weeks ago, a nearly 80-year-old Donald Trump talking about crowd sizes is not what we need in this moment. But it's not just that. It's those that were closest to Donald Trump that understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous. His chief of staff, John Kelly, said that he was the most flawed human being he'd ever met. And both of his secretaries of defense and his national security advisors said he should be nowhere near the White House. Now, the person closest to them, Donald Trump, said he's unfit for the highest office. That was Senator Vance. What we've seen out of Vice President Harris is we've seen steady leadership. We've seen a calmness that is able to draw on the coalitions to bring them together. Understanding that our allies matter. When our allies see Donald Trump turn towards Vladimir Putin, turn towards North Korea. When we start
points.
to see that type of fickleness around holding the coalitions together, we will stay committed. And as the vice president said today we will protect our forces and our allied forces, and there will be consequences.
Governor, your time is up. Senator
him,
Vance,
JD.
the same question. Would you support or oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? You have 2 minutes.
So, Margaret, I want to answer the question. First of all, thanks, Governor. Thanks to CBS for hosting the debate. And thanks, most importantly, to the American people who are watching this evening and caring enough about this country to pay attention to this vice presidential debate. I want to.
Oh, I'm so excited for him. I think he's got that. Sorry.
Assistance for periods of her life. My grandmother required Social Security help to raise me, and she raised me in part because my own mother struggled with addiction for a big chunk of my early life. I went to college on the GI Bill after I enlisted in the Marine Corps and served in Iraq, and so I stand here asking to be your vice president with extraordinary gratitude for this country, for the American dream that made it possible for me to live my dreams. And most importantly, I know that a lot of you are worried about the chaos in the world and the feeling that the American dream is unattainable. I want to try to convince you tonight over the next 90 minutes that if we get better leadership in the White House, if we get Donald Trump back in the White House, the American dream is going to be attainable once again.
Good.
Now, to answer this particular question, we have to remember
that, he talked to the people. That's perfect. No. JD did it perfect. 1 minute. Now he's going to answer the question, because this isn't a 2-minute question. You don't need 2 minutes to answer this. Now he's going to do it.
Governor Walz just accused Donald Trump of being an agent of chaos. Donald Trump actually delivered stability in the world, and he did it by establishing effective deterrence. People were afraid of stepping out of line. Iran, which launched this attack, has received over $100 billion in unfrozen assets thanks to the Kamala Harris administration. What do they use that money for? They use it to buy weapons that they're now launching against our allies, and God forbid, potentially launching against the United States as well. Donald Trump recognized that for people to fear the United States, you needed peace through strength. They needed to recognize that if they got out of line, the United States global leadership would put stability and peace back in the world. Now, you asked about a preemptive strike, Margaret, and I want to answer the question. Look, it is up to Israel what they think they need to do to keep their country safe.
Right on.
And we should support our allies
Well, there go the
wherever
Jews.
they are when they're fighting the bad guys. I think that's the right approach to take with the Israel question.
That's a win. Perfect.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Walz, do you care to respond to any of the allegations?
Well, look, Donald Trump was in office. We'll sometimes hear a revisionist history, but when Donald Trump was in office, it was Donald Trump who we had a coalition of nations that had boxed Iran's nuclear program in, the inability to advance it. Donald Trump pulled that program and put nothing else in its place.
We're not talking about nukes.
So Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon than they were before because of Donald Trump's fickle leadership.
Stupid.
And when Iran shot down an American aircraft in international airspace, Donald Trump tweeted, because that's the standard diplomacy of Donald Trump. And when Iranian missiles did fall near U.S. troops and they received traumatic brain injuries, Donald Trump wrote it off as headaches. Look, our allies understand that Donald Trump is fickle. He will go to whoever has the most flattery or where it makes sense to him. Steady leadership like you witnessed today, like you witnessed in April. Both Iranian attacks were repelled. Our coalition is strong, and we need the steady leadership that Kamala Harris is providing.
Senator Vance, the U.S. did have a diplomatic deal with Iran to temporarily pause parts of its nuclear program, and President Trump did exit that deal. He recently said, just 5 days ago, the U.S. must now make a diplomatic deal with Iran because the consequences are impossible. Did he make a mistake? You have 1 minute.
Well, first of all, Margaret, diplomacy is not a dirty word, but I think that's something that Governor Walz just said is quite extraordinary. You yourself just said Iran is as close to a nuclear weapon today as they have ever been. And Governor Walz, you blame Donald Trump. Who has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years? And the answer is your running mate, not mine. Donald Trump consistently made the world more secure. Now, we talk about what the sequence of events.
JD Vance is going to fucking kick this guy's ass all over the stage. I mean, he is going to kick the shit out of Walz.
To where we are right now, and you can't ignore October the 7th, which I appreciate Governor Walz bringing up. But when did Iran and Hamas and their proxies attack Israel? It was during the administration of Kamala Harris. So Governor Walz can criticize Donald Trump's tweets, but effective, smart diplomacy and peace through strength is
CJ.
how you bring stability back to a very broken world. Donald Trump has already done it once before. Ask yourself at home, when was the last time, I'm 40 years old, when was the last time that an American president didn't have a major conflict break out? The only answer is during the 4 years that Donald Trump was president.
Boom.
Gentlemen, we have a lot to get to. Nora?
Margaret, thank you. Let's turn now to Hurricane Helene. The storm could become one of the deadliest on record. More than 160 people are dead and hundreds more are missing. Scientists say climate change makes these hurricanes larger, stronger,
Just move away
and
from it,
more
JD.
deadly because of the historic rainfall. Senator Vance, according to CBS News polling, 7 in 10 Americans and more than 60% of Republicans under the age of 45 favor the U.S. taking steps to try and reduce climate change. Senator, what responsibility would the Trump administration have to try and reduce the impact of climate change? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Get him, JD.
Sure. So first of all, let's start with the hurricane because it's an unbelievable, unspeakable human tragedy. I just saw today actually a photograph of 2 grandparents on a roof with a 6-year-old child, and it was the last photograph ever taken of them because the roof collapsed and those innocent people lost their lives. And I'm sure Governor Walz joins me in saying our hearts go out to those innocent people, our prayers go out to them,
he's good.
and we want
He's
as
really
robust
good.
and aggressive as a federal
He's
response
really
as we
good.
can get to save as many lives as possible, and then of course afterwards to help the people in those communities rebuild. I mean, these are communities that I love.
I
Some of
haven't
them I
seen
know
anything
very
like this
personally
since Kennedy.
in Appalachia, all across the Southeast. They need their government to do their job. And I commit that when Donald Trump is president again, the government will put the citizens of this country first when they suffer from a disaster. Now, Nora, you asked about climate change. I think this is a very important issue. Look, a lot of people are justifiably worried about all these crazy weather patterns. I think it's important for us, first of all, to say Donald Trump and I support clean air, clean water. We want the environment to be cleaner and safer. But one of the things that I've noticed some of our Democratic friends talking a lot about is a concern about carbon emissions, this idea that carbon emissions drives all of the climate change. Well, let's just say that's true, just for the sake of argument, so we're not arguing about weird science. Let's just say that's true. Well, if you believe that, what would you want to do? The answer is that you'd want to reshore as much American manufacturing as possible, and you'd want to produce as much energy as possible in the United States of America because we're the cleanest economy in the entire world. What have Kamala Harris's policies actually led to? More energy production in China, more manufacturing overseas, more doing business
We can
in some
turn
of the
this
dirtiest
off.
parts of the entire world. And when I say that, I
Let's
mean
go to bed.
the amount
It's
of
already
carbon
over.
emissions they're doing per
guy's
unit of
fucking
economic
amazing.
output. So if we actually care about getting cleaner air and cleaner water, the best thing to do is to double down and invest in American workers and the American people. And
There you go.
unfortunately, Kamala Harris has done exactly the opposite.
Governor Walz, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Well, we got close to an agreement because all those things are happening. Look, first of all, it is a horrific tragedy with this hurricane, and my heart goes out to the folks that are down there in contact with the governors. I serve as co-chair of the Council of Governors as we work
Did you
together on these
forget?
emergency management.
Forget what you
Governors,
did?
no partisanship. They work together. So all of the governors and the emergency responders are on the ground. Those happen on the front end. The federal government comes in, makes sure they're there that we recover. But we're still in that phase where we need to make sure that they're staying there, staying focused. Now, look, coming back to the climate change issue, there's no doubt this thing roared onto the scene faster and stronger than anything we've seen. Senator Vance has said that there's a climate problem in the past. Donald Trump called it a hoax and then joked that these things would make more beachfront property to be able to invest in. What we've seen out of the Harris administration now, the Biden-Harris administration, is we've seen this investment. We've seen massive investments, the biggest in global history that we've seen in the Inflation Reduction Act, has created jobs all across the country. 2,000 in Jeffersonville, Ohio, taking the EV technology that we invented and making it here. 200,000 jobs across the country. The largest solar manufacturing plant in North America sits in Minnesota. But my farmers know climate change is real. They've seen 500-year droughts, 500-year floods back to back. But what they're doing is adapting, and this has allowed them to tell me, look, I harvest corn, I harvest soybean, and I harvest wind. We are producing more natural gas and more oil at any time than we ever have. We're also producing more clean energy. So the solution for us is to continue to move forward, that climate change is real.
If I was J.D. Vance, I'd ask him one question. Can you please tell me what clean energy means? Can you please describe it for me? That's all you got to do. This is so easy to crush this guy. Just ask him, what's clean energy? What does it mean?
Absolutely critical, but this is not a false choice. You can do that at the same time you're creating the jobs that we're seeing all across the country. That's exactly what this administration has done. We are seeing us becoming an energy superpower for the future, not just the current. And that's what absolutely makes sense. And then we start thinking about
God, he's worse than Kamala.
These disasters.
It's word salad.
Thank you. Senator, I want to give you an opportunity to respond there. The governor mentioned that President Trump has called climate change a hoax. Do you agree?
Well, look, what the president has said is that if the Democrats, in particular Kamala Harris and her leadership, if they really believe that climate change is serious, what they would be doing is more manufacturing and more energy production in the United States of America, and that's not what they're doing. So clearly, Kamala Harris herself doesn't believe her own rhetoric on this. If she did, she would actually agree with Donald Trump's energy policies. Now, something Governor Walz said I think is important to touch upon, because when we talk about clean energy, I think that's a slogan that often the Democrats will use here. And I'm talking, of course, about the Democratic leadership. And the real issue is that if you're spending hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars of American taxpayer money on solar panels that are made in China, number one, you're going to make the economy dirtier. We should be making more of those solar panels here in the United States of America. Some of them are, Tim, but a lot of them are being made overseas in China, especially the components that go into those solar panels. So if you really want to make the environment cleaner, you've got to invest in more energy production. We haven't built a nuclear facility.
Did you hear him? They are. Yeah, Tim, but you're kind of full of shit. Let me tell you why.
I think one in the past 40 years.
Senator.
Natural gas, we got to invest more in it. Kamala Harris has done the opposite. That's raised energy prices and also meant that we're doing
Senator,
worse by the climate.
your time is up. Governor, would you like to respond?
Well, look, we're producing more natural gas than we ever have. There's no moratorium on that. We're producing more oil. But the folks know, and like I said, again, these are not liberal folks. These are not folks that are Green New Deal folks. These are farmers that have been drought one year, massive flooding the next year.
Yeah, it's called
they
weather.
understand that it makes sense. Look, our number one export cannot be topsoil from erosion from these massive storms. We saw it in Minnesota this summer.
Oh, my God.
And thinking about how do we respond to that, we're thinking ahead on this. And what Kamala Harris has been able to do in Minnesota, we're starting to weatherproof some of these things. The infrastructure law that was passed allows us to think about mitigation in the future. How do we make sure that we're protecting by burying our power lines? How do we make sure that we're protecting lakefronts and things that we're seeing more and more of? But to call it a hoax,
folks, I just want to let you know, just because I have to interrupt here, you can bury power lines if you want to. You can bury piping. You can go ahead and bury fiber optics. But every single person in North Carolina saw the coffins flowing down the rivers of water. This is what happens during massive floods, especially in mountainous regions. Coffins that have been buried since the 50s were floating on top of this water. It is a horrible, tragic accident. If you want to bury things 100 feet, well, then we're going to get in a whole nother conversation about cost. And if you want to pass those costs on to the energy companies when they already are having 25% leases given to them, when we're already crippling them and importing most of our energy, you can do that. But go ahead and say that in Pennsylvania and watch what happens when you lose that state. Just J.D. Vance needs to fucking crush him right here. Sorry.
More and more of. But to call it a hoax and to take the oil company executives to Mar-a-Lago, say, give me money for my campaign and I'll let you do whatever you want.
Oh, bullshit.
We can be smarter about that. And an all-above energy policy is exactly what she's doing, creating those jobs right here.
Governor, your
Judy,
time
hit
is
him.
up. The overwhelming consensus among scientists is that the Earth's climate is warming at an unprecedented rate. Margaret?
Thank you, Nora.
Give me a
We're gonna
fucking
turn
break.
now
Nice
to
plug.
Immigration. The crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border consistently ranks as one of the top issues for American voters. Senator Vance, your campaign is pledging to carry out the largest mass deportation plan in American history and to use the U.S. military to do so. Could you be more specific about exactly how this will work? For example, would you deport parents who have entered the U.S. illegally and separate them from any of their children who were born on U.S. soil? You have 2 minutes.
So first of all, Margaret, before we talk about deportations, we have to stop the bleeding. We have a historic immigration crisis because Kamala Harris started and said that she wanted to undo all of Donald Trump's border policies. 94 executive orders suspending deportations, decriminalizing illegal aliens, massively increasing the asylum fraud that exists in our system. That has opened the floodgates. And what it's meant is that a lot of fentanyl is coming into our country. I had a mother who struggled with opioid addiction and has gotten clean. I don't want people who are struggling with addiction to be deprived of their second chance because Kamala Harris let in fentanyl into our communities at record levels. So you've got to stop the bleeding. You've got to re-implement Donald Trump's border policies, build the wall, re-implement deportations. And that gets me to your point, Margaret, about what do we actually do? So we've got 25 million illegal aliens who are here in the country. What do we do with them? I think the first thing that we do is we start with the criminal migrants. About 1 million of those people have committed some form of crime in addition to crossing the border illegally. I think you start with deportations on those folks. And then I think you make it harder for illegal aliens to undercut the wages of American workers. A lot of people will go home if they can't work for less than minimum wage in our own country. And by the way, that'll be really good for our workers who just want to earn a fair wage for doing a good day's work. And the final point, Margaret, is you ask about family separation. Right now in this country, Margaret, we have 320,000 children that the Department of Homeland Security has effectively lost. Some of them have been sex trafficked. Some of them hopefully are at homes with their families. Some of them have been used as drug trafficking mules. The real family separation policy in this country is unfortunately Kamala Harris's wide open southern border. And I'd ask my fellow Americans to remember when she came into office, she said she was going to do this. Real leadership would be saying, you know what, I screwed up. We're going to go back to Donald Trump's border policies. I wish that she would do that. It would be good for all of us.
Governor, do you care to respond to any of those specific allegations, including that the vice president
tampons
is
in the boys' bathroom
in fentanyl and using kids as drug mules, among other things, regarding children?
The drug mule is not true, but I will say about this, about the fentanyl, because this is a crisis of this, the opioid crisis. And the good news on this is the last 12 months saw the largest decrease in opioid deaths in our nation's history, 30% decrease in Ohio. But there's still more work to do. But let's go back to this on immigration. Kamala Harris is the Attorney General of the largest state and a border state in California. She's the only person in this race who prosecuted transnational gangs for human trafficking and drug interventions. But look, we all want to solve this. Most of us want to solve this, and that is the United States Congress. That's the Border Patrol agents. That's the Chamber of Commerce. That's most Americans out here. That's why we had the fairest and the toughest bill on immigration that this nation's seen. It was crafted by a conservative senator from Oklahoma, James Lankford. I know him. He's super conservative, but he's a man of principle, wants to get it done. Democrats and Republicans worked on this piece of legislation. The Border Patrol said, this is what we need in here. These are the experts. And the Chamber of Commerce and the Wall Street Journal said, pass this thing. Kamala Harris.
Did this guy just fucking say that they're not muling drugs with kids and illegal immigrants across our border? Is that what I heard? Okay. This guy's a twat waffle.
Help get there. 1,500 new border agents, detection for drugs, DOJ money to speed up these the adjudication.
Fentanyl is not an opioid, folks. I'm just letting you know. So when he says opiate use, that's because what Donald Trump did with his policies, and he cracked down with the FDA. He cracked down with Health Association and the FHA. And he focused on the DEA also putting limits on pain management doctors and people prescribing opioids for the simplest of things. It is now tougher to get opioids than ever before. That is why it's down. For him to sit here and say this is ridiculous. And COVID drove a lot of those numbers up. Now that COVID is by the wayside, you're seeing opioid numbers come back to reality where Donald Trump left them. But fentanyl is still exactly where it's at. It's bullshit. It's one of the largest killers between certain age groups for men and for people who obviously are influenced by illegal drugs. Give me a break.
Adjudications on this, just what America wants. But as soon as I was getting ready to pass and actually tackle this, Donald Trump said no. Told them to vote against it.
Bullshit.
Because it gives him a campaign issue.
Hit him, JD.
It gives him.
Hit him.
What would Donald Trump talk about if we actually did some of these things? And they need to be done by the legislature. You can't just do this through the executive branch. So look, we have the options to do this. Donald Trump had 4 years. He had 4 years to do this, and he promised you, America, how easy it would be. I'll build you a big, beautiful wall, and Mexico will pay for it. Less than 2% of that wall got built, and Mexico didn't pay a dime. But here we are again, 9 years after he came down that escalator, dehumanizing people and telling them what he was going to do. As far as the deportation plan, at one point, Senator Vance said it was so unworkable to be laughable. So that's where we're at. Pass the bill, she'll sign it.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, the question was, will you separate parents from their children, even if their kids are U.S. citizens? You have 1 minute.
Margaret, my point is that we already have massive child separations thanks to Kamala Harris's open border. And I didn't accuse Kamala Harris of inviting drug mules. I said that she enabled the Mexican drug cartels to operate freely in this country. And we know that they use children as drug mules, and it is a disgrace, and it has to stop. Look, I think what Tim said just doesn't pass the smell test. For 3 years, Kamala Harris went out bragging that she was going to undo Donald Trump's border policy. She did exactly that. We had a record number of illegal crossings. We had a record number of fentanyl coming into our country. And now that she's running for president, or a few months before, she says that somehow she got religion and cared a lot about a piece of legislation. The only thing that she did when she became the vice president, when she became the appointed border czar, was to undo 94 Donald Trump executive actions that opened the border. This problem is leading to massive problems in the United States of America. Parents who can't afford health care, schools that are overwhelmed. It's got to stop, and it will when Donald Trump is president again.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, what about our CBS News polling, which does show that a majority of Americans, more than 50%, support mass deportations?
Look, we fixed this issue with a bill that is necessary, but the issue on this is what happens when you don't want to solve it. You demonize it. Right. And we saw this, and Senator Vance, and it surprises me on this, talking about and saying, I will create stories to bring attention to this. That vilified a large number of people who were here legally in the community of Springfield. The Republican governor said, it's not true, don't do it. There's consequences for this. There's consequences. We could come together.
What the fuck are you
Senator
talking
Langford
about?
Did it. We could come together and solve
Look at
this
JD.
if we didn't let Donald Trump continue to make it an issue. And the consequences in Springfield were the governor had to send state law enforcement to escort kindergartners to school. I believe Senator Vance wants to solve this, but by standing with Donald Trump and not working together to find a solution, it becomes a talking point. And when it becomes a talking point like this, we dehumanize and villainize other human beings.
Tim,
Governor, your time is up. Senator, I'll give you 1 minute, but let me just
ask lady.
You the question first. The governor has made the point, and I think as a sitting lawmaker, you know that Congress controls the purse strings and any funding. So you have said repeatedly that Donald Trump would, through executive action, solve this. Do you disagree that Congress controls the purse strings and would need to support many of the changes that you would actually want to implement?
No.
You have 1 minute.
Look, Margaret, first of all, the gross majority of what we need to do at the southern border is just empowering law enforcement to do their job. I've been to the southern border more than our borders are. Kamala Harris has been. And it's actually heartbreaking because the Border Patrol agents, they just want to be empowered to do their job. Of course, additional resources would help, but most of this is about the president and the vice president empowering our law enforcement to say, if you try to come across the border illegally, you've got to stay in Mexico, you've got to go back through proper channels. Now, Governor Walz brought up the community of Springfield, and he's very worried about the things that I've said in Springfield. Look, in Springfield, Ohio, and in communities all across this country, you've got schools that are overwhelmed, you've got hospitals that are overwhelmed, you have got housing that is totally unaffordable because we brought in millions of illegal immigrants to compete with Americans for scarce homes. The people that I'm most worried about in Springfield, Ohio, are the American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's open border. It is a disgrace, Tim. And I actually think, I agree with you. I think you want to solve this problem, but I don't think that Kamala Harris does.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, you have 1 minute to respond.
Yeah, well, it is law enforcement that asked for the bill. They helped craft it. They're the ones that supported it. That's because they know we need to do this. Look, this issue of continuing to bring this up, of not dealing with it, of blaming migrants for everything. On housing, we could talk a little bit about Wall Street speculators buying up housing and making them less affordable, but it becomes a blame. Look, this bill also gives the money necessary to adjudicate I agree. It should not take 7 years for an asylum claim to be done. This bill gets it done in 90 days. Then you start to make a difference in this, and you start.
Can I say something? I got to say something. I don't like Walz, but you know what? This is the most policy-driven debate we've had in 10 years. They're actually talking about policy. They're actually talking about what they believe is best. And honestly, whether I agree with him or not, which I don't agree with him, I think he's an idiot. He's apologizing for immigrants. At least it's policy driven. At least he's actually addressing it. I got to give it to both of them. I think that Vance is kicking his ass all over the stage, but at least they're trying to talk about policy. And to me, that means a lot. It really does. Liv, your thoughts on that?
Yes. I mean, normally we just get the runaround and no one will answer a question, but we're actually getting some questions answered. Which is nice.
Yeah. And Walz is completely just dropping the ball on everything he says. He just apologized for illegals. But either way, at least they're talking.
A lot. But Matthew 25:40 talks about, to the least amongst us, you do unto me. I think that's true of most Americans. They simply want order to it. This bill does it. It's funded. It's supported by the people who do it. And it lets us keep our dignity about how we treat other people.
And fund 16 other countries'
Thank
borders.
you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status. Temporary protected status.
Margaret,
but thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important
we're
because
going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that
The
you guys weren't
economy,
going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
There you go.
So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years.
Thank you, Senator.
No, shut the fuck up, lady.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The
we
CBP
want to have.
One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris.
Oh my God, they muted his mic.
The audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. We have so much we want to get to. Thank you for explaining the legal process.
Fuck you, bitches.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Margaret.
Sorry,
the
the language,
economy
Liv.
is a top concern
They
for
are.
voters. Each of your campaigns has
What?
released an economic plan, so let's talk about the specifics.
Oh my God.
Governor Walz, Vice President Harris unveiled a plan that includes billions in tax credits for manufacturing, housing, and a renewed child tax credit. The Wharton School says your proposals will increase the nation's deficit by $1.2 trillion. How would you pay for that without ballooning the deficit?
Here we
Governor, I'll
go.
give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. And Kamala Harris and I do believe in the middle class because that's where we come from.
Yeah.
We both grew up in
my
that. We
God.
understand.
Just
those of you out
answer
there
how you're
listening
going to
tonight,
do
you're
it.
hearing a lot of stuff back and forth, and it's good. It's healthy. That's what this is supposed to happen. You should be listening. How's this going to impact me? The bold forward plan that Kamala Harris put out there is talking about this housing issue. The one thing is there's 3 million new houses proposed under this plan with down payment assistance on the front end to get you in a house. A house is much more than just an asset to be traded somewhere. It's foundational to where you're at. And then making sure that the things you buy every day, whether they be prescription drugs or other things, that there's fairness in that. Look, the $35 insulin is a good thing, but it costs $5 to make insulin. They were charging $800 before this law went into effect. As far as the housing goes,
mean Donald
I've
Trump's
seen
policy?
it in Minnesota. 12% more houses in Minneapolis, prices went down on rent 4%. It's working. And then making sure tax cuts go to the middle class. $6,000 child tax credit, we have one in Minnesota, reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We save money in the long run, and we do the right thing for families. And then getting businesses off the ground. The law as it stands right now is $5,000.
How are you going to pay for the $1.7 trillion windfall?
Now, this is a philosophical difference between us. Donald Trump made a promise, and I'll give you this. He kept it. He took folks from Mar-a-Lago. He said, you're rich as hell, I'm going to give you a tax cut. He gave the tax cuts that predominantly went to the top class. What happened there was an $8 trillion.
Oh my God, JD Vance, it's simple. Just simply say, if those tax cuts were so bad for America, then why did the Democrats extend them to 2025 and 2021 and voted to push them for another 4 years? Just answer the question. Governor, why did your party support those tax cuts and extend them for 4 years if they were so bad? Just answer the fucking question, dude. Just crush him, JD.
An $8 trillion increase in the national debt, the largest ever. Now he's proposing a 20% consumption or sales tax on everything we bring in. Everyone agrees, including businesses, it would be destabilizing it. It would increase inflation and potentially lead to a recession. Look, this is
Thank you,
simple for
Victoria.
you. Where are we going? Kamala Harris has said to do the things she wants to do. We'll just ask the wealthiest to pay their fair share. When you do that, our system works best.
Bullshit.
More people are
Lies.
participating in it, and folks have the things that they need.
Senator, I want to give you a moment to respond on that. But similarly, the Wharton School has done an analysis of the Trump plan and says it would increase the nation's deficit by $5.8 trillion. My question is the same for you. How do you pay for all that without ballooning the deficit? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, you're going to hear a lot from Tim Walz this evening, and you just heard it in the answer, a lot of what Kamala Harris proposes to do. And some of it, I'll be honest with you, it even sounds pretty good. Here's what you won't hear, is that Kamala Harris has already done it. Because she's been the vice president for 3.5 years. She had the opportunity to enact all of these great policies. And what she's actually done instead is drive the cost of food higher by 25%, drive the cost of housing higher by about 60%, open the American southern border and make middle class life unaffordable for a large number of Americans. If Kamala Harris has such great plans for how to address middle class problems, then she ought to do them now, not when asking for a promotion, but in the job the American people gave her 3.5 years ago. And the fact that she isn't tells you a lot about how much you can trust her actual plans. Now, Donald Trump's economic plan is not just a plan, but it's also a record. A lot of those same economists attack Donald Trump's plans, and they have PhDs, but they don't have common sense and they don't have wisdom, because Donald Trump's economic policies delivered the highest take-home pay in a generation in this country, 1.5% inflation, and to boot, peace and security all over the world. So when people say that Donald Trump's economic plan doesn't make sense, I say look at the record. He delivered rising take-home pay for American workers. Now, Tim admirably admits that they want to undo the Trump tax cuts. But if you look at what was so different about Donald Trump's tax cuts, even from previous Republican tax cut plans, is that a lot of those resources went to giving more take-home pay to middle class and working class Americans. It was passed in 2017, and you saw an American economic boom unlike we've seen in a generation in this country. That is a record that I'm proud to run on, and we're going to get back to that common sense wisdom so that you can afford to live the American dream again. I know a lot of you are struggling. I know a lot of you are worried about paying the bills. It's going to stop when Donald Trump brings back common sense to this country.
Governor, do you want to respond to that? What has Kamala Harris done for the middle class?
Yeah, well, Kamala Harris's day one was Donald Trump's failure on COVID that led to the collapse of our economy. We were already before COVID in a manufacturing recession, but 10 million people out of work, largest percentage since the Great Depression. 9 million jobs closed on that. That was day one. Whether it was the Infrastructure Act or other things we moved. Now, you made a question about experts, said this. I've made a note of this. Economists can't be trusted. Science can't be trusted. National security folks can't be trusted. Look, if you're going to be president, you don't have all the answers. Donald Trump believes he does. My pro tip of the day is this. If you need heart surgery, listen to the people at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, not Donald Trump. And the same thing goes with this. And I ask you out there, teachers, nurses, truck drivers, or whatever, how is it fair that you're paying your taxes every year and Donald Trump hasn't paid any federal tax in the last 15 years, and the last year as president? That's what's wrong with the system. There's a way around it, and he's bragged about that. We're just asking for fairness in it, and that's all you want.
You have a minute.
Governor, you say trust the experts. But those same experts for 40 years said that if we shipped our manufacturing base off to China, we'd get cheaper goods. They lied about that. They said if we shipped our industrial base off to other countries, to Mexico and elsewhere, it would make the middle class stronger. They were wrong about that. They were wrong about the idea that if we made America less self-reliant, less productive in our own nation, that it would somehow make us better off, and they were wrong about it. And for the first time in a generation, Donald Trump had the wisdom and the courage to say to that bipartisan consensus, we're not doing it anymore. We're bringing American manufacturing back. We're unleashing American energy. We're going to make more of our own stuff. And this isn't just an economic issue. I mean, I've got 3 beautiful little kids at home, 7, 4, and 2, and I love them very much, and I hope they're in bed right now. But look, so many of the drugs, the pharmaceuticals that we put in the bodies of our children are manufactured by nations that hate us. This has to stop. And we're not going to stop it by listening to experts. We're going to stop it by listening to common sense wisdom, which is what Donald Trump governed on.
Senator, time is up. Governor Walz, can you address that? I mean, voters say they trust Donald Trump on the economy more. Why?
Well, if you're listening tonight and you want billionaires to get tax cuts, you heard what the numbers were. Look, I'm a union guy on this. I'm not a guy who wanted to ship things overseas, but I understand that, look, we produce soybeans and corn. We need to have fair trading partners. That's something that we believe in. I think the thing that most concerns me on this is Donald Trump was the guy who created the largest trade deficit in American history with China. So the rhetoric is good. Much of what the senator said right there, I'm in agreement with him on this. I watched it happen too. I watched it to my communities, and we talked about that. But we had people undercutting the right to collectively bargain. We had right to work states made it more difficult. We had companies that were willing to ship it over, and we saw people profit. Folks that are venture capital in some cases, putting money into companies that were overseas. We're in agreement that we bring those home. The issue is Donald Trump is talking about it. Kamala Harris has a record, 250,000 more manufacturing jobs just out of the IRA.
May I respond to that?
Yes.
So appreciate that. So if you notice, what Governor Walz just did is he said, first of all, Donald Trump has to listen to the experts. And then when he acknowledged that the experts screwed up, he said, well, Donald Trump didn't do nearly as good of a job as the statistics
that's a
show
gross generalization.
that he did. So what Tim Walz is doing, and I honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens. I was raised by a woman who would sometimes go into medical debt so that she could put food on the table in our household.
This is a
what it's
complete
like
annihilation.
to not be able to afford the things that you need to afford. We can do so much better. To all of you watching, we can get back to an America that's affordable again. We just got to get back to common sense.
Folks, if Donald Trump can learn how to present in this way, this ticket is unbeatable. Every woman, now let's just face it, this is not going to make you happy. About 16% of the population is only going to watch about the first 10 minutes of this, and then it's going to be turned off. Nobody watches the VP debates, but these sound bites are perfect. This makes J.D. Vance not look like a weirdo. It makes J.D. Vance look like a down-to-earth conservative, and he's talking like Reagan. He sounds like Reagan. He's not aggressive. Actually, they're both being very, very cordial to each other, which is nice to see. I don't see Tim Walz getting mad and losing his shit. I think when he hits him on the communism stuff, when he hits him on being a socialist, when he hits him on his military record, I don't think JD needs to do any of that shit. I think JD needs to let the pundits do that and just keep hitting him on the facts because he is browbeating him. Tim Walz is talking out of both sides of his mouth. I love when he talks about the proverbial whack-a-mole because it's exactly what he's doing. It's pretty fantastic.
That's affordable again. We just got to get back to common sense economic principles.
I hope we have a conversation on healthcare then.
Senator, Governor.
Please.
Thank you. Margaret?
We have a lot to get to ahead, gentlemen, on many topics. But right now, I want to talk about personal qualifications. The vice president is often the last voice the president hears before making consequential decisions. We want to ask you about your leadership qualities. Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989.
Liar!
But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year.
Yep, admit you're a liar.
Can you explain that discrepancy?
Well, and to the folks out there, I didn't get at the top.
Yeah, I don't do dates no good. Yeah, he's already done. I don't understand English too goods. Now, I don't understand dates too goods.
Alaska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on.
Where all your relatives who are not your relatives, who Reuters is fact-checking, have said they're not voting for you but Donald Trump, but it's been fact-checked because they're distant relatives, so therefore they're not relatives. You fucking, I can't stand these people.
The streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms.
Come
and
on.
Then I used the GI Bill.
Why'd you lie?
To become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now, look, my community knows who I am.
Come on, dude, answer.
Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always...
Perhaps maybe you should borrow some Kamala Harris toilet paper, and you just, as the vice president of the United States, said that you're a fucking knucklehead. You are the dumbest son of a bitch I've ever met in your life. You have just provided every single campaign ad and given the Republicans the October surprise. You just said that a person one step away from being the leader of the free world is a knucklehead. Thank you, Mr. Walz. You are a godsend. Thank you for that fucking layup. Thank you for the softball pitch over the plate. Thank you for the drop on a par 3 hole-in-one. You're a knucklehead. They're going to be playing that thing. That will be your epitaph on your gravestone. I'm a knucklehead.
And you want to answer the question.
Dipshit.
But it's always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress for 12 years.
Now they're fucking knuckleheads because they voted for a knucklehead. Dude, thank you for that gift.
Bipartisan people working on things like farm bills that we got done, working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice.
Explain it.
Look, my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will.
JD Vance. JD has it. He's got it. He's going to be like, did you just, he's got it. So basically what you're saying is you lied because you're a knucklehead. It's just, we can move on. That's all he's got to say. So what your answer is that you're a knucklehead and that's why you lied. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Let's let him off the hook. Just say it.
Say more than anything. Many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric. But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID. And I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. And then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand
CNN,
what it is.
how long are you going to let him go? It's not getting any better.
I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of Congress. Those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Come on, JD, crush him.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Thank you, Governor. Senator Vance,
that's the worst answer I've ever heard in my life. JD didn't even take a fucking respite. JD's like, you know what? Let's just let him off the hook. This is too cringe for the entire world. Someone just said, I like JD Vance. That has, whether I like a person or not, I don't vote people whether I like them or not. JD Vance has a lot of flaws, okay? He's not demonstrating any of them tonight.
Unfit for the nation's highest office, and you said he could be America's Hitler. I know you've been asked many times,
Come
and
on,
you said
JD,
you regret
answer this
those
right.
comments and explained you then voted for Donald Trump in 2020. But the Washington Post reported new messages last week in which you also disparaged Trump's economic record while he was president, writing to someone in 2020, quote, Trump thoroughly failed to deliver his economic populism.
Get him.
You're now his running mate, and you've shifted many of your policy stances to align with his. If you become vice president,
go ahead.
Why should Americans trust that you will give Donald Trump the advice he needs to hear?
Just give it to him.
And not just the advice
just be straight.
he wants to hear.
Don't do a Walz.
You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, Margaret, because I've always been open. And sometimes, of course, I've disagreed with the president, but I've also been extremely open about the fact that I was wrong about Donald Trump. I was wrong, first of all, because I believed some of the media stories that turned out to be dishonest fabrications of his record.
There you go.
But most importantly, Donald Trump delivered for the American people.
Good.
Rising wages, rising take-home pay, an economy that worked for normal Americans, a secure southern border, a lot of things, frankly, that I didn't think he'd be able to deliver on. And yeah, when you screw up, when you misspeak, when you get something wrong and you change your mind, you ought to be honest with the American people about it. It's one of the reasons, Margaret, why I've done so many interviews is because I think it's important to actually explain to the American people where I come down on the issues and what changed. Now, you pointed out to messages from 2020. Margaret, I've been extremely consistent that I think there were a lot of things that we could have done better in the Trump administration the first round if Congress was doing its job. I strongly believe, and I've been a United States Senator, that Congress is not just a high-class debating society. It's not just a forum for senators and congressmen to whine about problems. It's a forum to govern. So there were a lot of things on the border, on tariffs, for example, where I think that we could have done so much more if the Republican Congress and the Democrats in Congress had been a little bit better about how they govern the country. They were so obsessed with impeaching Donald Trump, they couldn't actually govern. And I want to talk about this tariff issue in particular, Margaret, because Tim just accused this of being a national sales tax. Look, the one thing, and you're probably surprised to hear me praising Joe Biden, but the one thing that Joe Biden did is he continued some of the Trump tariffs that protected American manufacturing jobs. And it's the one issue, the most pro-worker part of the Biden administration, it's the one issue where Kamala Harris has run away from Joe Biden's record. Think about this. If you're trying to employ slave laborers in China at $3 a day, you're going to do that and undercut the wages of American workers unless our country stands up for itself and says you're not accessing our markets unless you're paying middle-class Americans a fair wage.
Senator, your time is up.
Great answer.
Nora?
Thank you. Now to the issue of reproductive rights. Governor Walz, after Roe versus Wade was overturned, you signed a bill into law that made Minnesota one of the least restrictive states in the nation when it comes to abortion.
Amy says, we've had many conversations about misjudging of Matt when we found this show. That's wonderful. Thank you. It's nice to know that I was Hitler. So, and you made mistakes. I really appreciate it. Amy, I didn't make any misjudgments about you, and I hold them all still today.
Does that make me Eva Braun?
I guess.
Abortion. Former President Trump said in the last debate that you believe abortion, quote, in the 9th month is absolutely fine.
Ooh.
Yes or no?
Here we
Is
go.
that what you support?
Here we go.
I'll give you 2 minutes.
That's not what the bill
says.
says.
Then why'd you sign the bill?
This issue is what's on everyone's mind.
Why'd you sign the bill?
Donald Trump put this all into motion. He brags about how great it was that he put the judges in and overturned Roe versus Wade. 52 years of personal autonomy.
Send it back to the
states. And then he tells us, we send it to the states. It's a beautiful thing. Amanda Zaworski would disagree with you on it's a beautiful thing. A young bride in Texas waiting for their child at 18 weeks. She has a complication, a tear in the membrane. She needs to go in. The medical care at that point needs to be decided by the doctor. And that would have been an abortion. But in Texas, that would have put them in legal jeopardy. She went home, got sepsis, nearly dies, and now she may have difficulty having children. Or in Kentucky, Hadley Duvall, a 12-year-old child raped and impregnated by her stepfather. Those are horrific. Now, when God asked about that, Senator Vance said 2 wrongs don't make a right. There is no right in this. So in Minnesota, what we did was restore Roe versus Wade. We made sure that we put women in charge of their health care. But look, this is not where, if you don't know Amanda or a Hadley, you soon will. Their Project 2025 is going to have a registry.
Crush him.
Fucking
crush him.
It's going to make it more difficult, if not impossible, to get contraception and limit access, if not eliminate access to infertility treatments. For so many of you out there listening, me included, infertility treatments are why I have a child. That's nobody else's business. But those things are being proposed. And the catch-all on this is, well, the states will decide what's right for Texas might not be right for Washington. That's not how this works. This is basic human right. We have seen maternal mortality skyrocket in Texas, outpacing many other countries in the world. This is about health care. In Minnesota, we are ranked first in health care for a reason. We trust women. We trust doctors.
Senator, do you want to respond to the governor's claim? Will you create a federal pregnancy?
Every state in the union allows for mother's health. This is complete bullshit. The Hippocratic Oath absolutely demands it. Shall do no harm. And always life of mother is considered. Anyone that tells you different is full of shit. What they cannot do is that if they do not have, going into an emergency room, have a overall diagnoses that supports the termination of the child, they must gain approval to do so with the state. Because these guys aren't OBGYNs. These guys are ER doctors. These guys are triage type doctors. They aren't allowed to make that call without the specificity that's required. It's important. A lot of these women are coming in and they are not having, they're coming in with these complications. And I'm sorry, whether you like to hear this or not, they are not life-threatening. If somebody is having a life-threatening pregnancy that's going to take their life, it is absolutely in all 50 states required to do that. But if you're going to do something that isn't considered life-threatening and you want to have an abortion because of it, you must have that diagnosis from an OBGYN or from a doctor who's qualified.
This is just an assumption on my part, but being in Texas, I'm wondering if they chose to try and keep the baby and not abort the baby, and it just had bad complications. Just a thought.
Once again, I don't know the case, but here's what I just said. Every single state is life of mother is 100. If life of mother is in danger, they are absolutely qualified and can perform an abortion. That is 100% true. Now, once again, somebody comes in and says, I need an abortion. My baby is, it is not a sustainable life. It's causing complications. I'm going to die. My doctor said so. And you don't have that diagnosis from a doctor. They are going to go through the processes of the state to ensure that that diagnosis is performed properly before taking the baby's life. And your right to say that is that I am uncomfortable, or I don't feel well, or I believe that this is going to be an unsupported life if born, is immaterial to the conversation. It has to be diagnosed by a doctor. That is my point. Let's watch the rest.
Create a federal pregnancy monitoring agency?
No, Nora, certainly we won't. And I want to talk about this issue because I know a lot of Americans care about it, and I know a lot of Americans don't agree with everything that I've ever said on this topic. And, I grew up in a working class family in a neighborhood where I knew a lot of young women who had unplanned pregnancies and decided to terminate those pregnancies because they feel like they didn't have any other options. And, one of them is actually very dear to me. And I know she's watching tonight, and I love you. And she told me something a couple years ago that she felt like if she hadn't had that abortion, that it would have destroyed her life because she was in an abusive relationship. And I think that what I take from that as a Republican who proudly wants to protect innocent life in this country, who proudly wants to protect the vulnerable, is that my party, we've got to do so much better of it.
Roxanne says, my husband thinks Walz is ahead, and I think it's Vance. There is no way fathomable that anyone who is open-minded finds Walz in the lead. If you're voting for Kamala, Walz is in the lead. If you're voting for Vance or Trump, Vance is in the lead. But a moderate, somebody who can ride the line, is saying Vance is not the devil. He's not Project 2025. He's actually likable. Walz seems disheveled, seems like he's running around in circles, and is self-deprecating up on that stage with a lack of confidence. He has already been self-deprecating 3 times. He looks feckless, he looks weak, and people can see that. So you tell your husband the only reason he's doing that is because he's voting for Kamala.
The American people's trust back on this issue where they frankly just don't trust us. And I think that's one of the things that Donald Trump and I are endeavoring to do. I want us as a Republican Party to be pro-family in the fullest sense of the word. I want us to support fertility treatments. I want us to make it easier for moms to afford to have babies. I want it to make it easier for young families to afford a home so they can afford a place to raise that family. And I think there's so much that we can do on the public policy front just to give women more options. Now, of course, Donald Trump has been very clear that on the abortion policy specifically, that we have a big country and it's diverse. And California has a different viewpoint on this than Georgia. Georgia has a different viewpoint from Arizona. And the proper way to handle this, as messy as democracy sometimes is to let voters make these decisions, let the individual states make their abortion policy. And I think that's what...
If you just saw right there, you completely saw Walz shake his head no, that the states should not decide. This might be the one that he falls on the sword on.
Makes the most sense in a very big, a very diverse, and let's be honest, sometimes a very, very messy and divided country.
Governor, would you like to respond and also answer the question about restrictions?
Yeah, well, the question got asked, and Donald Trump made the accusation that wasn't true about Minnesota. Well, let me tell you about this idea that there's diverse states. There's a young woman named Amber Thurman. She happened to be in Georgia, a restrictive state. Because of that, she had to travel a long distance to North Carolina to try and get her care. Amber Thurman died in that journey back and forth. The fact of the matter is, how can we as a nation say that your life and your rights, as basic as the right to control your own body, is determined on geography? There's a very real chance, had Amber Thurman lived in Minnesota, she would be alive today. That's why the restoration of Roe versus Wade. When you listen to Vice President Harris talk about this subject and you hear me talk about it, you hear us talking exactly the same. Donald Trump is trying to figure out how to get the political right of this. I agree with a lot of what Senator Vance said about what's happening. His running mate, though, does not, and that's the problem.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, let me ask you about that. He mentioned...
First of all, doctors are to blame for Amber's death because they had the right to do that and did not. That is a very big difference. Malpractice takes place all over the country. Doctors are inherently flawed just like everyone else. They make bad choices. To sit here and say that there was some sort of law in Georgia that stopped her from doing that, no, there isn't. 100% life of mother is a qualification in all 50 states. Hippocratic oath, thou shalt do no harm. This is bullshit. It's 100% bad. It's malpractice on the doctors. They are held responsible. And that is what the lawsuit states. It doesn't say that there was some sort of state law that went ahead and killed her. It's bad malpractice. That is a completely different thing. So everything he's saying is full of shit. And stop picking your nose, you
I think
weirdo.
referring to a national ban. In the past, you have supported a federal ban on abortion after 15 weeks. In fact, you said if someone can't support legislation like that, quote, you are making the United States the most barbaric pro-abortion regime anywhere in the entire world. My question is, why have you changed your position?
Well, Nora, first of all, I never supported a national ban. I did when I was running for Senate in 2022 talk about setting some minimum national standard. For example, we have a partial birth abortion ban in place in this country at the federal level. I don't think anybody's trying to get rid of that, or at least I hope not, though I know that Democrats have taken a very radical pro-abortion stance. But Nora, one of the things that changed is in the state of Ohio, we had a referendum in 2023, and the people of Ohio voted overwhelmingly, by the way, against my...
Folks, great place to stop. We've got, a couple 250 on. Let you know, this isn't free. We don't do this from the kindness of the cackles of our heart, do we, Liv? I mean, do we throw thousands of dollars out for this show? Listen, this is a job. This is what I do. Olivia has her job. I have my job. We do this for you. We keep it free because we might have seen that little ad that keeps popping up that Facebook demonetized us and ultimately just put everything and throttled us to a point where we were making tens of thousands of dollars a month that we never asked for donations, but the last 5 months we've had to because they have throttled 90% of our revenue. We made $1.24 in ad revenue on our videos, which have had thousands of views. We can't afford a $100,000 lawyer to go to war with Facebook. There's just no way we can do it. So we are at their mercy. We ask you to keep this show free, to help donate by going to thedumshow.com/donate. If you've enjoyed the conversation, if you enjoyed the coverage, and you also watch us, maybe this is your first time or maybe this is your 100th time, maybe now is the time that you can help out the show. You can go to thedumshow.com, donate through PayPal or with Venmo, and you can also send to a P.O. box. That's thedumshow.com/donate. It doesn't matter if it's $1, it doesn't matter whether it's $1,000. Whatever you can do to help, we appreciate it. But the first thing is make sure your family's taken care of in a very challenging time. And if you have a little extra, you can help out the Don't Unfriend Me Show. We would appreciate it. Here's the rest.
What I learned from that, Nora, is that we've got to do a better job at winning back people's trust. So many young women would love to have families. So many young women also see an unplanned pregnancy as something that's going to destroy their livelihood, destroy their education, destroy their relationships. And we have got to earn people's trust back. And that's why Donald Trump and I are committed to pursuing pro-family policies, making childcare more accessible, making fertility treatments more accessible, because we've got to do a better job at that. And that's what real leadership is.
Governor, your response.
Well, I'm going to respond on the pro-abortion piece of that. No, we're not. We're pro-women. We're pro-freedom to make your own choice.
As long as you're not a woman in the womb.
The implications are to not be that.
Exactly.
women having miscarriages, women not getting the care, physicians feeling like they may be prosecuted for providing that care. And as far as making sure that we're educating our children and giving them options, Minnesota's a state with one of the lowest teen pregnancy rates. We understand that too. We know that the options need to be available, and we make that true. We also
the reason why you are one of the lowest teen pregnancy rates is because you're one of the highest abortion states, you fucking feckless cock.
For the best place to raise children. But these two things to try and say that we're pro-children, but we don't like this, or you guys are pro-abortion, that's not the case at all. We are pro-freedoms for women to make their choices, and we're going, and Kamala Harris is making the case, to make options for children more affordable, a $6,000 child tax credit, but we're not going to base that on the backs of making someone like Amber
Get
Thurman
off this topic.
drive 600 miles to try and get health care.
Get off, JD.
Senator? May I respond to that? First of all, Governor, I agree with you. Amber Thurman should still be alive, and there are a lot of people who should still be alive, and I certainly wish that she was. And maybe you're free to disagree with me on this and explain this to me, but as I read the Minnesota law that you signed into law, the statute that you signed into law, it says that a doctor who presides over an abortion where the baby survives, the doctor is under no obligation to provide life-saving care to a baby who survives a botched late-term abortion. That is, I think, whether you're pro-choice or pro-abortion, that is fundamentally barbaric. And that's why I use that word, Nora, is because some of what we've seen, do you want to force Catholic hospitals to perform abortions against their will? Because Kamala Harris has supported suing Catholic nuns to violate their freedom of conscience. We can be a big and diverse country where we respect people's freedom of conscience and make the country more pro-baby and pro-family. But please.
Yes, Governor, please respond.
Look, this is one where there's always something there. This is a very simple proposition. These are women's decisions to make about their healthcare decisions, and the physicians who know best when they need to do this.
Okay, so you're okay
Trying
with
to
late-term
distort
abortions.
the way a law is written to try and make a point. That's not it at all.
What was I wrong about, Governor? Please tell me. What was I wrong about?
That is not the way the law is written. Look, I've given
But
this.
how?
I've given this advice on a lot of things, that getting involved, getting engaged, that's been misread, and it was fact-checked at the last debate. But the point on this is there's a continuation of these guys to try and tell women or to get involved. I use this.
Tim Walz is spinning like a dreidel, even though he's not Jewish. He's spinning like a top. Yeah, he doesn't like Jews. Here you go. Hold on.
I and
gotta hear
tell
this.
women or to get involved. I use this line on this, just mind your own business on this. Things worked best when Roe versus Wade was in place.
Mind your own
when we
business
do
on
a
murder.
restoration of Roe,
going to
that
bed?
works best. That doesn't preclude us from increasing funding for children. It doesn't increase us from making sure that once that child's born, like in Minnesota, they get meals. They get early childhood education. They get health care. So the hiding behind we're going to do all these other things when you're not proposing them in your budget. Kamala Harris is proposing them. She's proposing all those things to make life easier for families.
I asked a specific question, Governor. You gave me a slogan as a response.
It's not the case. It's not true. That's not what the law says. So they fact-checked it with President Trump.
Gentlemen, there's a lot to discuss. We have to move on, and we're going to be right back with much more of the CBS News vice presidential debate in just a moment.
Yeah, you're not paying for my commercials, so I'm going to fast forward.
Trump called it a hoax.
Which I appreciate Governor Walz.
Was that it's there. No.
In America is by firearms. Senator Vance, you oppose most gun legislation.
I just want to say I am so proud that we have stayed on target tonight, that we're not that far behind. Yeah. So thanks. I hope you appreciate skipping commercials. And if you do, you can donate at thedumshow.com/donate. Thank you.
You oppose most gun legislation that Democrats claim would curb gun violence. You oppose red flag gun laws and legislation to ban certain semi-automatic rifles, including AR-15s. So let me ask you, earlier this year, for the first time, the parents of a school shooter were convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Do you think holding parents responsible could curb mass shootings? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, Nora, on that particular case, I don't know the full details, but I certainly trust local law enforcement and local authorities to make those decisions. I think in some cases the answer is going to be yes, and in some cases the answer is going to be no. And the details really matter here, of course. For example, if a kid steals a gun, that's going to be different than if a parent hands over a gun knowing that their kid is potentially dangerous. But look, I want to just sort of speak as a father of 3 beautiful little kids, and our oldest is now in 2nd grade. And like a lot of parents, we send our kids to school with such hope and such joy and such pride at their little faces on the first day of school. And we know, unfortunately, that a lot of kids are going to experience this terrible epidemic of gun violence. And of course, our hearts go out to the families that are affected by this terrible stuff. And we do have to do better. And I think that Governor Walz and I actually probably agree that we need to do better on this. The question is just, how do we actually do it? Now, here's something that really bothers me and worries me about this epidemic of
Paula. JD's killing it. I mean, just killing it. Walz is just like he's just like the best way to describe it is he looks like he's in a gay porn film with 36 different men, and he keeps getting slapped in the head. He's got purple bruises all over his face. I mean, that's really what it looks like. It looks like gay porn. Not that I've watched a lot of gay porn, but I've heard that that's what it's like. Anyway, back to the show. If you like gay porn, you can donate to thedumshow.com/
me about this epidemic of violence. The gross majority, close to 90% in some of the statistics I've seen, of the gun violence in this country is committed with illegally obtained firearms. And while we're on that topic, we know that thanks to Kamala Harris's open border, we've seen a massive influx in the number of illegal guns run by the Mexican drug cartels. So that number, the amount of illegal guns in our country is higher today than it was 3.5 years ago. But what do we do about the schools? What do we do to protect our kids? And I think the answer is
stop making them soft targets.
Not loving the answer, because I don't want my kids to go to school in a school that feels unsafe or where there are visible signs of security.
Thank you, Glenn.
But I unfortunately think that we have to increase security in our schools. We have to make the doors lock better. We have to make the doors stronger. We've got to make the windows stronger. And of course, we've got to increase school resource officers, because the idea that we can magically wave a wand and take guns out of the hands of bad guys, it just doesn't fit with recent experience. So we've got to make our schools safer. And I think we've got to have some common sense bipartisan solutions for how to do that.
Governor, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I think all the parents watching tonight, this is your biggest nightmare. Look, I got a 17-year-old, and he witnessed a shooting at a community center playing volleyball. Those things don't leave you. As a member of Congress, I sat in my office surrounded by dozens of the Sandy Hook parents, and they were looking at my 7-year-old picture on the wall. Their 7-year-old were dead, and they were asking us to do something. And look, I'm a hunter. I own firearms. The vice president
weapons of war.
We understand that the Second Amendment is there, but our first responsibility is to our kids to figure this out. In Minnesota, we've enacted enhanced red flag laws, enhanced background checks, and we can start to get data. But here's the problem. If we really want to solve this, we've got folks that won't allow research to be even done on gun violence. And this idea that we should just live with it, here's what I do think, that this is a good start to the conversation. I 100% believe that Senator Vance hates it when these kids, it's abhorrent and it breaks your heart. I agree with
this. Is the most civil fucking debate I have seen in my life now. This is incredible. This is almost as good as Reagan and Mondale. A complete shit show for just like Walz. But at least they're respectful of each other. There's no low brow here. They're not hitting him on JD Vance being a weirdo. They're not talking about the couch. They're not talking about his service. It's not a veteran. I mean, this is good. I'll take this and watch this all day long, because even though I don't like Walz's policies, I got to say, at least he's respectful. At least he's that. Out of all the things I would say about him, at least he's respectful. These are just two decent human beings who ideologically are opposed on the opposite sides of how to get things done in this country, and diametrically opposed. But at least this is a civil debate on policy, for God's sakes. I've learned more about their positions than I have from Trump or from Hillary or from Joe or Obama or Bill or anyone else in the last 30 years, because this is what a debate should look like. It's an exchange of ideas, and at least it's respectful.
Time in Finland and seen some Finnish schools. They don't have this happen, even though they have a high gun ownership rate in the country. There are reasonable things that we can do to make a difference. It's not infringing on your Second Amendment. And
Bullshit.
The idea to have some of these weapons out there, it just doesn't make any sense. Kamala Harris, as an attorney general, worked on this issue. She knows that it's there. No one's trying to scaremonger and say we're taking your guns, but I ask all of you out there, do you want your schools hardened to look like a fort?
Yes.
Is that what we have to go? When
yes.
we know There's countries around.
Here's the thing, you lying son of a bitch. Now you got me grumpy. Every single major Channel Island, CIF, or Los Angeles, Ventura County, you can go all the way up to Oxnard. You can go to Chico. You can go to Bakersfield. You can go to the San Fernando Valley. You can go down to San Diego and Oceanside. Every single major school has their own budget for fences, security, armed guards, extra window protection, alarms, and scanners. My school had a fence around it. We had 16 drive-by shootings in Ventura High School. The year before I went there, we had 17 the year after. Pauley Street was closed down. No traffic could go through between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. They did this because these drive-by shootings that took place. They put fences up. They put scanners up. We had more Yellow Jacket security guards. We must have had 45 people in a school of about 3,700. We were a large high school. This happened all up and down. And how do I know? Because I traveled to all these schools, including Lompoc, Compton, South Central. We were in Oxnard, California, Paso Robles, Santa Paula, Camarillo. We were in Crapendaria, Santa Barbara. And the reason why is my dad recruited for football, and I got to see the levels of security they had. So don't give me this shit that they haven't hardened schools in California where you're praising St. Kamala Blowjob Harris. Give me a fucking break. It has nothing to do with confiscating guns. They hardened the schools.
There's countries around the world that their children aren't practicing these types of drills. They're being kids. We owe it to them to get a fix. These are things that shouldn't be that difficult. You can still keep your firearms, and we can make a difference. We have to. If you're listening tonight, this breaks your heart.
Senator.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting. I'm sorry about that, and I hope that he's doing okay. Christ have mercy. It is awful.
So good. This is they need to go out on a date afterwards. This is great.
Mercy. It is awful. And I appreciate what Tim said actually about Finland.
Vance will bring Walz flowers at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Vance, his job was to look human, and he did. Walz's job was to not look like a buffoon, and he is. Just saying. Complete buffoonery. What he just said about California. See, this is what they need to do. They need to research. Go visit these high schools in California. Every one of them used to be soft targets. They're hard targets now.
Differences between our own country's gun violence problem and Finland is, okay, first of all, we have way higher rates of mental health abuse or mental health substance abuse. We have way higher rates of depression, way higher rates of anxiety. We unfortunately have a mental health crisis in this country that I really do think that we need to get to the root causes of, because I don't think it's the whole reason why we have such a bad gun violence problem, but I do think it's a big piece of it. Another driver of the gun violence epidemic, especially that affecting our kids, it doesn't earn as many headlines,
in fact,
but is the
everyone say goodnight to Olivia. She's had a long day at work. She needs to go talk to the kids. I'm going to wrap up and take you home. She's going to go get some rest. So if you love Olivia, you can donate at thedumshow.com/donate, folks, so we can hit our goal. We're about $120 short. We would love to hit our goal. Help us hit our goal. It's not cheap to put these things on, and someone's got to put baby in the corner, and she's going to go bye-bye.
Do we use Link Tap Go anymore?
Yes, we do, but I wanted you to have an easier way to go to thedumshow.com/donate.
Got it.
But you can go to linktapgo.com/thedumshow too. Either one of those work, but I actually put it on our website. It's really simple. Thedumshow.com/donate. It's right there, or you can use Link Tap Go. It's okay. We can use both. It doesn't matter. I love you. Say goodnight, everybody. Say goodnight, Liv. Good night. Liv's out of here. Peace. All right. I'm taking you home. If you don't love my mug, well, tough shit. This is what it is. Let's go. She's worked her ass off today.
But is the terrible gun violence problem in a lot of our big cities. And this is why we have to empower law enforcement to arrest the bad guys, put them away, and take gun offenders off the streets. I think there's a whole host of things that we can do here, but I do think at our schools we've got to talk about more security.
Senator, thank you. Governor, you previously opposed an assault weapons ban, but it's only later in your political career did you change your position. Why?
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA, I was the NRA guy for a long time. They used to teach gun safety. I'm of an age where my shotgun was in my car so I could pheasant hunt after football practice. That's not where we live today. And several things I want to mention on this is talking about cities and where it's at. The number one where the most firearm deaths happen in Minnesota are rural suicides. And we have an epidemic of children getting guns and shooting themselves. And so we have, and we should look at all of the issues, making sure folks have health care and all that, but I want to be very careful. This idea of stigmatizing mental health, just because you have a mental health issue doesn't mean you're violent. And I think what we end up doing.
Okay. That's not what he said. He said, if you perform a school shooting, you got mental fucking health issues. Come on, dude. Seriously, now you're going to go ahead and back up school shooters? Give me a break. Come on, man.
Sometimes it just is the guns. It's just the guns.
No, it's not.
And there are things that you can do about it.
No, it's
but
not.
I do think that this is one, and I think this is a healthy conversation. I think there's a capacity to find solutions on this that work, protect Second Amendment, protect our children. That's our priority.
Gentlemen, thank you. Margaret?
Thank you, Nora. Let's turn now to the top contributor to inflation, the high cost of housing and rent.
Yeah, the Inflation and Reduction
There's a shortage
Act.
of more than 4 million homes in the United States, and that contributes to the high housing prices. Governor Walz, the Harris campaign promises a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and a $10,000 tax credit. They also promise to build 3 million new homes. Where are you building these homes, and won't handing out that kind of money just drive up prices higher?
No, it's not handing out. We have, first, let me say this.
I want to go ahead and say to Dylan Kokorin, I believe is how you say it, from Chirpcast. Keep up the good work. He donated $5 through Venmo. We don't see those very fast. So I want to say thank you. Those actually take a little bit to get in here. So thank you so much, man, for your donation on Venmo. Dylan, we appreciate you.
No, it's not handing out. We have, first, let me say this issue of housing, and I think those of you listening on this, the problem we've had is that we've got a lot of folks that see housing as another commodity. It can be bought up, it can be shifted, it can be moved around. Those are not folks living in those houses. Those of you listening tonight, that house is a big deal. I bought and owned one house in my life. My mom still lives in the house where I was. And when I think of a house, I'm thinking of Christmas services after midnight mass where you go with your family. We need to make it more affordable. And one of the things, as I said, this program that the Vice President is pushing forward and bringing a new way of approaching this is something we're doing in Minnesota from that lead. We in the state invested in making sure our housing was the biggest investment that we'd ever made in housing. It starts to make it easier. We cut some of the red tape. Local folks, look, we can't do it at the federal level, but local
Thanks
folks
again,
make
Dylan.
it easier to build those homes. And then that down payment assistance. I can tell all of you out there, one of the, certainly for me, using the GI Bill was one thing, but a veteran's home loan, the big thing about a veteran's home loan is you don't have to pay the down payment. Those are things that...
That is not true, you lying fucker. That is a 100% complete lie. I'm sorry to cuss, but this is the problem why where your service is in question. And JD Vance is going to say it. You absolutely 100% have a VA home loan fee that is fairly much equivalent to a down payment, and it's put on the back end of the loan. It is still in your payments. You just don't have to pay it up front. It is bled into the loan. Lying son of a bitch. Now, you can negotiate for the closer to go ahead and pay for that, but nobody does. In a VA home loan, the closing cost and the down payment, which is a VA home loan fee, is put onto the back half of the loan. So you do have to pay it. And if you have any question, that's why my loan for $625,000 was actually $636,000 because they have to process it on the back half of the loan. Don't lie, you prick.
Those are things that make it there. Now, look, you're going to pay it back.
And I've done it.
You're going to pay your mortgage.
And I've utilized the home loan 5 times. 5. So I think I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the VA home loan. And if Amy was here, she would tell you the same thing. And any real estate agent worth their salt. So don't lie.
Those are things that we know in the long run, the appreciated value, the generational wealth that's created from it. And I will give Minneapolis an example. Minneapolis is the one city where we've seen the lowest inflation rates. We've seen a 12% increase in stock because we've put some of these things in. And we're implementing a state program to make sure we give some of that down payment assistance. We get it back from people because here's what we know. People with stable housing end up with stable jobs. People with stable housing have their kids able to get to school. All of those things
Don't explain why the federal interest rate has literally tripled.
End up saving our money. And that's the thing that I think we should be able to find some common ground in, but we can't blame immigrants for the only reason. That's not the case that's happening in many cities. The fact of the matter is that we don't have enough naturally affordable housing, but we can make sure that the government's there to help kickstart it, create that.
We don't want the government. We already have HUD housing. We already have low-income housing. We don't need it. Let the free market take care of itself. If a house is worth $1 million, but it's not worth $1 million to the person purchasing it, then it's not worth $1 million. The free market will adjust. Stop the predatory home loans. Stop giving people who don't deserve a home a home. Let these people live in MDU multi-dwelling units and let them all live together like we had to. I didn't own my first home until I was 38 years old. It might be the American dream, but it's not an American freaking handout. Stop having the government get involved. Drive houses down by people having the ability to afford these loans that you're giving. Stop these incredible interest rates and stop forcing these massive down payments. Allow first-time homeowners to go ahead and get a subsidy if you want to do that. That's fine. But don't have it be the American taxpayer that pay it. Make it a government proportionate bill that's actually repaid at the back half of the loan. Why don't you extend VA loans to non-veterans? You can do that. Just stop passing the buck to the taxpayer and start making it be a subsidy, which is actually paid by the free market and the builder.
Vance, as far as your campaign's position, the promise is to seize federal lands to build homes, remove regulation, provide tax breaks, and cut back on immigration, which you say pushes up prices. Where are you going to build all the new homes you're promising, and what part of any of this plan will provide immediate relief? You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, Tim just said something that I agree with. We don't want to blame immigrants for higher housing prices, but we do want to blame Kamala Harris for letting in millions of illegal aliens into this country, which does drive up costs, Tim. 25 million illegal aliens competing with Americans for scarce homes is one of the most significant drivers of home prices in the country. It's why we have massive increases in home prices that have happened right alongside massive increases in illegal alien populations under Kamala Harris's leadership. Now, Tim just mentioned a bunch of ideas. Now, some of those ideas I actually think are halfway decent, and some of them I disagree with. But the most important thing here is Kamala Harris is not running as a newcomer to politics. She is the sitting vice president. If she wants to enact all of these policies to make housing more affordable, I invite her to use the office that the American people already gave her, not sit around and campaign and do nothing while Americans find the American dream of homeownership completely unaffordable. Now, you asked, Margaret, what would immediately change the equation for American citizens? If you lower energy prices, as Donald Trump says, drill, baby, drill, one of the biggest drivers of housing costs aside from illegal immigration is, think about it. If a truck driver is paying 40% more for diesel, then the lumber he's delivering to the job site to build the house is also going to become a lot more expensive. If we open up American energy, you will get immediate pricing relief for American citizens, not, by the way, just in housing, but in a whole host of other economic goods, too.
Senator Vance, you...
What's up, Squirt? Going to bed?
Yep.
All right, man. Thanks. Hey, good job at school. How's everything going? Did you make fun of your sister's cavities?
No.
You should have. Should have. That would have been fun. It's a great opportunity for you, buddy. See ya.
Senator Vance, you still have 23 seconds there.
Say it again.
Good opportunity to be
Yeah, she would kick you in the nuts. That's true.
Governor, we will get to you in a moment, but Senator, where
Thank
are you
you,
going to
Allison,
seize the
for
federal
subscribing.
lands?
We
Can you
appreciate
clarify?
it. It's a couple bucks
Well,
there.
what Donald Trump has said is we have a lot of federal lands that aren't being used for anything. They're not being used for national park. They're not being used, and they could be places where we build a lot of housing. And I do think that we should be opening up building in this country. We have a lot of land that could be used. We have a lot of Americans that need homes. We should be kicking out illegal immigrants who are competing for those homes, and we should be building more homes for the American citizens who deserve to be here.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, I do want to let you respond to the allegation that the vice president is letting in
Well, of course, that's not true. And again, you have the facts. I guess we agreed not to fact check. I'll check it. That, look, crossings are down compared to when Donald Trump left office. But it's, again, blaming and not trying to find the solution. I was going to ask, though, on this question, are we going to drill and build houses in the same federal land? And I think when people hear federal lands, these are really important pieces of land. Now, Minnesota doesn't have a lot of federal lands. I know in the western part of the countries we do. There's not a lot of federal lands in and around Minneapolis, for example. So the issue is I don't understand the federal lands issue unless we see this, and I worry about this as someone who cares deeply about our national parks and our federal lands. Look, Minnesota, we protect these things. We've got about 20% of the world's fresh water. These lands protect. They're there for a reason. They belong to all of us. But again, this is when you view housing and you view these things as commodities. Like there's a chance to
give me a break, dude. You can fly over the United States and literally for 90% of your flight, you could take a piss out the window and not hit anyone. Now, don't also tell me about evaporation and overall freeze. I get it. You get my point. You can fly over most of the United States and there is nobody there. There are millions upon millions upon millions of hectares available to build on, but it's federally owned land. They're not all water tables, and there's not a bunch of Native Americans chewing on peyote and chasing the white buffalo. Give me a fucking break. These are protected lands that are owned by the federal government. Give them open ability to build new homes there. Create new economic viability and housing structures that will bring in residential business. You build resi, you build SFUs and MDUs. You're going to have multiple companies come in and run cable, run electric. You're going to have new metropolises build up in these areas. This is needed. States holding on to 70% of their land because they want the fucking spiced apple chipmunk to be protected is complete bullshit, or because there's some sort of sacred fucking moss on a tundra that you don't want a human footprint in is stupid. Open them up, let people drill, let people go ahead and make the United States bigger. The reason why we're not growing anymore is we have these cities that are unhealthy. They don't promote family values. They don't promote the ability to live in a home and have the American dream. And nobody wants to live in podunk fucking Asheville or Round Hill, Virginia. So go ahead and allow more cities, allow more people to grow, and allow the American dream to take place. But what you've done is you've stuck a fork and a flag in the American areas and territories and said, these are protected lands because the spotted owl, we don't want it to taste like chicken. Nobody fucking cares. Let's wipe that thing out. It's the survival of the fittest. We don't care. Let the Chinese protect Wally Wally the panda and let us go eat some spotted owl and create American industry again. Okay, great. Thanks.
Let's take this federal land and let's sell it to people for that. I think there's better ways to do this. We've seen it in Minnesota. We're able to refurbish some of these houses. We're able to make some investments. That gets people in. And I'm still on the fact on this. Economists, Senator Vance, you said you don't like the economists. Which economists are saying that it is immigrants that's adding to the cost?
Governor, your time is up. But Senator, on that point, I'd like for you to clarify. There are many contributing factors to high housing costs. What evidence do you have that migrants are illegal problem?
Well, there's a Federal Reserve study that we're happy to share after the debate. We'll put it up on social media, actually, that really drills down on the connection between increased levels of migration, especially illegal immigration, and higher housing prices. Now, of course, Margaret, that's not the entire driver of higher housing prices. It's also the regulatory regime of Kamala Harris. Look, we are a country of builders. We're a country of doers. We're a country of explorers.
He's going to say just what I said.
We increasingly have a federal administration that makes it harder to develop our resources, makes it harder to...
Can I fast forward? You just heard all this from me, but okay, that's fine.
Makes it harder to build things and wants to throw people in jail for not doing everything exactly as Kamala Harris says they have to do. And what that means is that you have a lot of people who would love to build homes who aren't able to build homes. I actually agree with Tim Walz. We should get out of this idea of housing as a commodity. But the thing that has most turned housing into a commodity is giving it away to millions upon millions of people who have no legal right to be here.
What are the federal regulations? I deal with this as a governor.
You can very quickly reply.
I'm sorry. I get this as a governor, and I don't necessarily disagree with that in some cases, many of those are local, Many of them are state. I don't know which ones are federal, but I think whenever we talk regulations, people think they can get rid of them. I think you want to be able to get out of your house in a fire. I think you want to make sure that it's fireproof and those types of things. So which are the regulations? Because the vice president's not responsible for those. Congress writes those.
Governor, thank you. Gentlemen.
I'll answer the question since they won't. I'm sorry. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. You have increased demand. When you have increased demand, you need supply. But when you have overregulation and limited property and prices driving up that, especially in the bigger cities and high commodity markets where there is low crime, where there's higher education, like where I live. That's why my housing price was $625,000, and now I can sell my house for $1.1 million. You have crowding living conditions, which are driving up the price. Ultimately, that does go ahead and take MDUs. And then you don't have enough SFU property. Limited housing supply is a huge issue. Government incentives or subsidies for illegal immigrants, which is why and driving up prices in California, New York, and other sanctuary cities. It does a strain on resources. There's only so many resources that you have in these cities that have to bring in high commodities, high overall goods and services that are not created in these areas. So you start relying on foreign services to do that because the local strain in the United States, because we are not a net exporter, we are a net importer. That is one of our biggest issues when it comes to wood. We've got forests that are available. We've got energy that's available, yet we bring it in from overseas. And lastly, you have wage suppression. Wages go down in the bigger cities. In the rural areas in the suburbs, but the bigger cities have higher and higher and higher cost of living because there's less places for people to live, which increases homelessness, which increases vagrancy, which increases drug use, which increases crime, and then overall that increases the cost of apartment living because there's not enough homes for people to live. So we can sit here and play all these games that illegal immigration doesn't impact it, but it does. I'm not running for president. I'm not running for vice president, but this isn't hard.
A lot to get to. You're passionate about the housing crisis, I can tell. But Nora?
Thank you. One of the top problems facing Americans is the high cost of health care. Senator Vance, at the last presidential debate, former President Trump was asked about replacing the Affordable Care Act. In response, he said, "I have concepts of a plan." Since then, Senator, you've talked about changing how chronically ill Americans get health insurance. Can you explain how that would work? And can you guarantee that Americans with pre-existing conditions won't pay more? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, of course, we're going to cover Americans with pre-existing conditions. In fact, a lot of my family members have gotten health care. I believe, members of my family actually got private health insurance, at least for the first time, switched off of Medicaid onto private insurance for the first time under Donald Trump's leadership. And I think that, a lot of people have criticized this concepts of a plan remark. Look, it's very simple common sense. I think as Tim Walz knows from 12 years in Congress, you're not going to propose a 900-page bill standing on a debate stage. It would bore everybody to tears, and it wouldn't actually mean anything because part of this is the give and take of bipartisan negotiation. Now, when Donald Trump was actually president, and again, he has a record to be proud of, prescription drugs fell in 2018 for the first time in a very long time. Under Kamala Harris's leadership, prescription drugs are up about 7%. Under Donald Trump's entire 4 years, they were up about 1.5%. He introduced pricing transparency. Think about healthcare. You go into a hospital, you try to buy something, and nobody knows what it actually costs. That price transparency will actually give American consumers a little bit more choice and will also drive down costs. And we talked about, the reinsurance regulations is what
5 cavities, minor cavities on Hayden. They said that her overall hygiene was spectacular. It has to do with genetics. It has to do with my bad teeth when my daughter got my teeth. 5 minor cavities, $2,700 fucking dollars. $2,700 cash I have to pay for 5 cavities. By the way, you can donate at thedumshow.com/donate. 5 cavities, $2,700. Folks, that is ridiculous. When those kids are allowed $1,000 in care, our family plan entirety is $2,500. Insurance covers nothing. Nothing. $2,700 for 5 cavities is what I have to pay. So don't sit here and tell me that it's not hard. Of course, we want health care. We want dental care. We want vision care. And the way you do it is to create competition. You open up the borders. You have tri-state care. You allow people to go on a national plan. Yes, you have Medicare. Yes, you have the ability for government subsidies. All of these things are happening. You offer tax breaks for people who have their own private insurance, who it's not paid for by a job. All of these things are possible. And yes, I'm fine with Obamacare. I'm fine with as many possibilities and choices that we can, and may the best person win, because that's what you do in a free market. But what you do is you have the government shutting these down. You have these big corporations that are the only option for people to go in and buy these ridiculous plans for a kid that's making $1,500 a month to offer him $375 insurance. Bullshit. Allow these state plans to work. Allow these groups and these jobs to go in and get rid of the single payer option. Have them go in on a group plan. You have employees that have 90,000 employees. For God's sakes, maybe they don't want to go with your corporation's healthcare because it's too expensive and it doesn't fit them. Offer them an option. But for us to sit here and pretend that there are options out there for everybody, we have a choice. You either go through a major corporation or you pay out of your ass for individual single payer health care, or you go into a COBRA option indefinitely, which is 3 times the going rate for insurance. This shit has to stop.
That if we allow states to experiment a little bit on how to cover both the chronically ill but the non-chronically ill, it's not just a plan. He actually implemented some of these regulations when he was president of the United States, and I think you can make a really good argument that it salvaged Obamacare.
$2,700 with insurance, and I just got paid $6,000 for crowns, 5 crowns. It's expensive. Guys, I put over $35,000 into my teeth. My back surgery was $750,000. Luckily, the VA picked up a lot of that, and so did my health insurance. But you got to understand, it's expensive out there. If you want to donate, Arnold, it's right down there, thedumshow.com/donate, and there's a link to PayPal and Venmo. Thanks for your help.
And I think this is an important point about President Trump. Of course, you don't have to agree with everything that President Trump has ever said or ever done. But when Obamacare was crushing under the weight of its own regulatory burden and healthcare costs, Donald Trump could have destroyed the program. Instead, he worked in a bipartisan way to ensure that Americans had access to affordable care. It's not perfect, of course, and there's so much more that we can do. But I think that Donald Trump has earned the right to put in place some better healthcare policies. He's earned it because he did it successfully the first time.
Governor?
All right, here's where being an old guy gives you some history. I was there at the creation of the ACA. And the reason it was so important is I come from...
Thank you, Thomas. We are now $54.37. $54.37 away from hitting our target tonight. Thank you so much, Thomas. And everybody who's helped us.
And the reason it was so important is I come from a major healthcare state, home of the Mayo Clinic, home to...
Yes, Allison, implants are like $5,000 for me. And if you have pre-existing conditions when it comes to your gum line or issues, I've had my jawline obliterated. Most people are starting to see this scar now. I get questions about it all the time. You couldn't see it when I was younger, but it's really coming in now. And it literally looks like a giant Y on my face, like someone took a knife. That is my entire jawbone gone from my surgery. And I had plastic surgery done on this side. And obviously with an older face, a little more weathered, you're starting to see that scar. But it's prominent. When you watch the recorded show, you'll see it. It's pretty massive. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
3M, Medtronic, all of those. We understand healthcare. It's why we're ranked first on affordability and accessibility and quality of healthcare. And so what I know is under Kamala Harris, more people are covered than they have before. And those of you listening, this is critical to you. Now, Donald Trump all of a sudden wants to go back and remember this. He ran on the first thing he was going to do on day one was to repeal Obamacare.
Repeal and replace.
He tried to sign an executive order to repeal the ACA. He signed on to a lawsuit to repeal the ACA, but lost at the Supreme Court. And he would have repealed the ACA had it not been for the courage of John McCain.
No, he actually went after the mandate, which forced people to pay a tax if they were uninsured, like car insurance. That's bullshit. Okay. And the Supreme Court sided with him on that and removed the Obamacare mandate and the tax penalty. So don't give me that shit. Okay. You also weren't able to force people to participate if they didn't have their own insurance and then pay that tax penalty, which was also unconstitutional. Second, he did want to repeal and replace. You're forgetting that word, just like you forget illegal with illegal immigrant and you call them migrants. You fucking Democrats, you're all the same.
Fast forward, what that means to you is you lose your pre-existing conditions. If you're sitting at home and you got asthma, too bad. If you're a woman, probably not. Broke your foot during
bullshit.
Football,
He promised to take care of pre-existing conditions. These are all lies.
Kamala Harris negotiated drug prices for the first time with Medicare. We have 10 drugs that will come online, the most common ones that'll be there. But look,
none of those prices really take effect until after the election, 2025, 2027, and 2029, respectively. And by the way, the whole thing that you're talking about with overall insulin, Donald Trump already had an insulin bill. You let it expire where he was offering it for $10, respectively. But you sons of bitches went ahead and renamed it, called it something like the Freedom of the Owl Insulin Sugar-Based Act or some shit. And instead of calling it what it was, Donald Trump's policy. But you guys can make up all the crap you want. You're full of shit.
It'll be there. But look, this issue, and when Donald Trump said, I've got a concept of a plan, it cracked me up as a fourth grade teacher because my kids would have never given me that. But what Senator Vance just explained might be worse than a concept, because what he explained is pre-Obamacare. And I'll make this as simple as possible because I have done this for a long time. What they're saying is, if you're healthy, why should you be paying more? So what they're going to do is let insurance companies pick who they insure, because guess what happens? You pay your premium, it's not much. They figure they're not going to have to pay out to you.
That is such bullshit. That is not what they're doing. Oh my God. Anyone who has life insurance knows this is a lie. My life insurance, I had the highest rating for my age. I was 46 years old when I got my life insurance policy. I had the lowest or the highest rating. I was in the top 0.3% highest rating in health as far as quality of health. My overall cholesterol level was like 20 points below national average. My heart rate resting was 57 beats to 62 beats. They put me on a treadmill. My heart rate didn't go above for 30 minutes of running of over 128 beats per minute. My overall triglycerides, my fatty content, red blood cell count, all of it, amount of testosterone in my body, perfect across the board. My body fat, I was sitting at like 12%, muscle mass to fat ratio, all of it. Mutual, who is my life insurance through? I don't know. It doesn't matter. That company offers me more health insurance every single year based on my rating. What it's saying is that you shouldn't have to pay more if you're healthy. If you're not going to go ahead and make 100 doctor visits a year, then you shouldn't be paying as much as people who do. It's basically going ahead and making a la carte service. So you can get the freaking healthcare that you want, that you need right now in your stage of life. If you have a high propensity to heart attacks or strokes, then a cardiovascular visit is going to go ahead and cost you a little bit more. But if you don't have a problem with aneurysms, if you don't have a problem with cancer, then ultimately going to an oncologist doesn't cost you more either. I'm not taking phone calls. It's too fucking late for that. All right? Great. Glad we had this conversation. God. Sorry, Mel, I love you, but I'm not taking phone calls. I'm too tired.
Got cancer? You're going to get kicked out of it. That's why the system didn't work. Kamala Harris will protect and enhance the ACA.
Governor, thank you. Senator, you have not yet explained how you would protect people with pre-existing conditions or laid out that plan.
Well, look, we currently have laws and regulations in place right now that protect people with pre-existing conditions. We want to keep those regulations in place, but we also want to make the health insurance marketplace function a little bit better. Now, what Governor Walz just said is actually not true. A lot of what happened and the reason that Obamacare was crushing under its own weight is that a lot of young and healthy people were leaving the exchanges. Donald Trump actually helped address that problem, and he did so in a way that preserved people's access to coverage who had pre-existing conditions. But again, something that these guys do is they make a lot of claims about if Donald Trump becomes president, all of these terrible consequences are going to ensue. But in reality, Donald Trump was president. Inflation was low. Take-home pay was higher. And he saved the very program from a Democratic administration that was collapsing and would have collapsed absent his leadership. He did his job, which is govern in a bipartisan way and get results, not just complain about problems, but actually solve them.
Governor, did enrollment under the Affordable Care Act go up under the Trump administration?
No,
People are
that's
using
not what
it.
she
The
said.
system works. And the question about this of young people or whatever, that's the individual mandate piece of this. And Republicans fought tooth and nail saying, well, Americans should be free to do this. Well, then
So
what
you
happens
think the
is
individual mandate's a good idea?
you shrink. I think the idea of making sure the risk pool is broad enough
You
to
like
cover
it.
everyone, that's the only way insurance works. When it doesn't, it collapses. You are asking pre-ACA where we get people out. Look, people know that they need to be on health care.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Folks, we are $24.37 now from hitting our overall goal for the night. And damn it, I'm not leaving until we hit it. Let's keep this going. Come on now.
People expect it to be there. And when we are able to make it, and we are making it this way, when we incentivize people to be in the market, when we help people who might not be able to afford it get there, and we make sure then when you get sick and old, it's there for you. Because I heard people say, well, I don't want to buy into Medicare or whatever. Good luck buying health care once you get past 70. So look, the ACA works. We can continue to do better. Kamala Harris did that. The way she made everything better was negotiating those 10 drugs on Medicare for the first time in American history.
Thank you, Margaret.
Can I address that?
I apologize. We're out of time. We have a number of subjects to
You've
discuss.
been letting him
Margaret.
go.
Let's talk about families in America.
We don't want to hear you.
There is a child care crisis in this country,
Oh, my
and
God.
the United States is one of the very few developed countries in the world without a national paid leave program for new parents. Governor Walz, you said that if Democrats win both the White House and Congress, this is a day one priority for you. How long should employers be required to pay workers while they are home taking care of their newborns? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's negotiable, and that's what Congress worked. But here's what the deal is. Americans sitting out there right now, you may work for a big company. Look, we're home in Minnesota to some of the largest Fortune 500 companies. Kamala Harris knows that in California. Those companies provide paid family and medical leave. One is, I think they're moral and they think it's a good thing, but it also keeps their employees healthy. We in Minnesota passed a paid family and medical leave. You have a child, and I had to go back to work 5 days after my kids were born. This allows you to stay home a certain amount of time.
You're a fucking man. Go work. My God. Like you got to breastfeed, like you change diapers. Give me a break. That kid needs his mother. When that child hits 3, that's when you get involved. You just sit there and go, oh, how cute. You're doing a great job, honey. And when she needs to sleep, you take the baby and you shut up.
Certain amount of time. What we know is that gets the child off to a better start. The family works better. We stay in their employers. We get more consistency in that. So Kamala Harris has made it a priority. We implemented it in Minnesota and we see growth. That's how you become a pro-business state. But the negotiations on it, and here's the issue. Those big companies are able to offer it. Those of you out there who don't have it, just imagine what happens if you get cancer or your child gets sick.
Here we go with the fear
know what
porn.
happens. You end up staying home. In some places, that means no paycheck because you've got no protection on that. This is the case of an economy that Donald Trump has set for the wealthiest amongst us. He's willing to give those.
Folks, J.D. Vance kicked the living shit out of this guy. I like Walz. Honestly, look at this look. I always pause him at the great moments. I liked him tonight. I thought he was a nice guy. He reminds me of Bernie Sanders, completely fucking batshit with his policies, but he's a nice guy. I don't care. I really don't. Yes, this guy he said it the best. Okay. He's a knucklehead. His comments about being a veteran, his comments with China, his comments about being there for Tiananmen Square. He's full of shit. He's like all liberals. He's just full of shit, but he's not a horrible dick. Okay. And that's what you got with Kamala. She's a dick. Biden was a dick. This guy's just stupid. I don't like his policies. I don't like who he is. I don't like his stance on abortion. I don't like his idea for health care. This guy's a socialist. He stood back away from his policies tonight. They're just lying. Everything he said in Minnesota is true. J.D. Vance just laid it out. He owned the things he needed to own. He crushed him. This is over. I'm going to fast forward. Folks, I'm $25 away. Let's get this thing going so we can put the women and kids to bed and go looking for dinner.
From Bernie Sanders to Dick Cheney to Taylor Swift and a whole bunch of folks in between there. And they don't all agree on everything, but they are truly optimistic people. They believe in a positive future of this country and one where our politics can be better than it is. And I have to tell you, that better than it is is the sense of optimism that there can be an opportunity economy that works for everyone, not just to get.
We need to be unburdened by what has been, by being betterer than it iser. I love it.
But to get ahead. And the idea that freedom really means something. Not the freedom of government to be in your bedroom or exam room, but the freedom for you to make choices about yourself. Now, look, we all know who Donald Trump is. He's told us, and as Maya Angelou said, believe him when he told you that. His first inaugural address talked about American carnage. And then he spent 4 years trying to maybe do that.
Maybe. He basically did that. He maybe did. He didn't do anything. He didn't do shit. Donald Trump did nothing to take away your freedom. He didn't kill anybody. Give me a break. God. You betcha.
Spent 4 years trying to maybe do that. Senator Vance tonight made it clear he will stand with Donald Trump's agenda.
Yeah.
He will continue to push down that road.
Good.
Excuse me. Kamala Harris gives us a different option. Now, I'll have to tell you.
It's the same fucking, she's in office. Why do you guys keep pretending that she's not the vice president of the United States? I mean, seriously, I understand that she's a wallflower. I understand he put her on the shelf, but she is the VP, is she not? And she's running the country. She gave the address on Israel and Iran tonight. That's the president's fucking job. She's the president, her and Jill. Give me a break.
Careful about the quotes, but there's one that Senator Vance said that does.
$25, folks. I'm not going to bed with that little red there. I mean, come on. We're almost there. $24.37. Give me a mercy tip. Come on.
A lot of America feels that way. We don't need to be afraid. Franklin Roosevelt was right. All we have to fear is fear itself. Kamala Harris.
Is this the guy that fucking put people in Japanese internment camps? American citizens, nothing to fear but fear itself and the government. Give me a break, FDR. Come on.
Kamala Harris is bringing us a new way forward. She's bringing us a politics of joy. She's bringing real solutions for the middle class, and she's centering you at the heart of that. All the while asking everyone, join this movement, make your voices heard. Let's look for a new day where everybody gets that opportunity and everybody gets a chance to thrive. I humbly ask for your vote on November 5th for Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah, joy.
Governor Walz,
Joy.
thank you. Senator Vance, your closing statement.
Little Hitler boy, it's your turn. Fucking these, God.
Well, I want to thank Governor Walz, you folks at CBS, and of course the American people for tuning in this evening. And one of the issues we didn't talk about was energy. And I remember when I was being raised by my grandmother, when she didn't have enough money to turn on the heat some nights because Ohio gets pretty cold at night and because money was often very tight. And I believe, as a person who wants to be your next vice president, that we are a rich and prosperous enough country where every American, whether they're rich or poor, ought to be able to turn on their heat in the middle of a cold winter night. That's gotten more difficult thanks to Kamala Harris's energy policy.
Hey, why did I get a downvote from YouTube? Fuck you, YouTube. Listen, we've been on for 3.5 hours. You could just have a mercy. You couldn't just, you had to give me a downvote. I haven't had one all night. I've got 1,300 comments, like 300. Can I get some likes because this douche plow just gave me a downvote? I mean, what type of fucking asshole do you have to be to come in at the last moment in the fourth quarter when I'm on the 2-yard line and throw something on the field? Really? I hope you get crabs, herpes, and gonorrhea anally from your fucking boyfriend. What a prick. Sarah, you gave me a downvote. I've been so good tonight, so kind. I've given Tim Walz love. I've given JD Vance love. I've been a good human being. And then you fucker come in here and give me a downvote on YouTube. Well, I hope you get the clap, you cock.
Ought to be able to.
I'm really not that mad. I just figured it was good for dramatic effect. So somebody gives me my $27 so I can fucking log off.
To Kamala Harris's energy policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford a nice meal for your family. That's gotten harder because of Kamala Harris's policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford to buy a house. You ought to be able to live in safe neighborhoods. You ought to not.
God, we're so close. Chevelle, you're amazing. Thank you. And I love it. And to the person who gave me a downvote, I don't fucking care. I was just kidding. That's just me being punchy because I'm tired. We're so close. I think we're $10 away now. Chevelle, thank you so much for that. You are a sweetie. We love you. There you go. Predator goes, Predator Investigation Group. Hey, I want to see your page. Predator Investigation Group. Send me a message, man. Hit me up at matt@thedumshow.com. No B, just DUM. Send me your page, man. If you got some good stuff, I want to have you on. I love fucking people who go after kid touchers. Fuck those guys. It's kind of like people who give me a downvote. I'm watching you. I know who it is. I fucking know who you are. You're such a petulant little turd. I unblocked you and then you give me a downvote. Oh, I'm coming after your ass. $15, folks. $10. What would it be? $10? $9.37. The downvoter should give me at least that for me giving you so much attention tonight.
To not have your communities flooded with fentanyl, and that too has gotten harder with Kamala because of Kamala Harris's policies.
Don't ever apologize for not sharing. You do not have to share. It's not required. You know that. You do not have to donate. You know that. I'm just busting balls. But if we walk out of here, it's kind of like there's one night I was missing my quarter by like $1,000, and I told one of my people, I said, put it on a fucking credit card and return it in the morning, and they did. And that's not right, but we all got our bonus. All right, enough. I got to play this.
People and says that on day one, she's going to work on all these challenges I just listed. She's been the vice president for 3.5 years. Day one was 1,400 days ago, and her policy.
There it is. We hit goal. All right, everyone can stop now. Paula. Paula is amazing. Do you know, Paula, did you have a person... Have I asked you this before? Chief Yount. He was a master at arms in the 7th Fleet on the USS Blue Ridge, just by chance, because it isn't a very popular name. If you did, let me know. Paula, you're amazing. Thank you for your $10.80, which officially we hit our goal for the night. All right, now I'm going to play this uninterrupted. Let's listen to it. Thank you so much, everybody.
Her policies have made these problems worse. Now, I believe that we have the most beautiful country in the world. I meet people.
I'm sorry, Abby, it's right there. thedumshow.com/donate. That's all you got to do is go right there and it will take you to the donation page. But you guys are good. We hit it tonight. We're happy. If you want to, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you no. Can we watch the rest of this, please?
Who can't afford food, but have the grace and generosity to ask me how I'm doing and to tell me they're praying for my family. What that has taught me is that we have the greatest country, the most beautiful country,
don't worry about it.
The most incredible people anywhere in the world. But they're not going to be able to achieve their full dreams.
Melanie, it's okay. Everyone stop apologizing.
In Washington.
You're good.
They're not going to be able to live their American dream if we do the same thing that we've been doing for the last 3.5 years. We need change. We need a new direction. We need a president who has already done this once before and did it well. Please vote for Donald Trump. And whether you vote for me or vote for Tim Walz, I just want to say I'm so proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you. God bless you, and good night.
Senator Vance, thank you. And thank you both for participating in the only...
Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you. Sorry, I don't use that word. You're a fucking whore. I can't stand these fucking media people. You are the worst part of America. You are uppity elitists. You are 100% anti anybody who is not in line with you. And I got to give Tim Walz props. I think he is the most affable Democrat to be up on the stage in 20 years. He was not condescending. His ideas are complete shit, but he was humble enough. I don't like his ideas, but as a human being, I got to say, man, I was fairly impressed with the way he was tonight. Like I said, I don't like his policies. I think he's horrendous on abortion, tampons in fucking boys' restrooms. He is a chameleon and it's not a jackanape, but he's just a chameleon. I mean, that's it. He's a man of many faces, but tonight, what he presented, I thought it was an amicable and an inspiring debate because we went over policy and it didn't turn into a shouting match. And fuck those women. I mean, I'm sorry. I can't stand them. And if they were guys, I'd say the same thing. Those moderators were complete dog shit. Dog shit. But I loved the debate. It was fantastic. Whoa, Arnold called him a see you next Tuesday. I wouldn't call him a see you next Tuesday. Bitches? Yes, just complete bitches. condescending, rude. They were trying to make JD mad and make him look like he hated women. I thought JD came off as magnanimous, smart, polished, presidential. He filled the gaps that Trump has. And honestly, I think America looked at it and said, wow, this guy could actually be president. For the first time, I looked at JD Vance and said, wow, he could actually be president. I was very impressed. Chevelle, we love you. I love all you guys. Just sent money. Oh, God, you guys. We're just trying to get 10. Holy shit. I wanted to go. I got to put all these in? God, fuck. God. I mean, I'm not going to complain. I am complaining, aren't I? Oh, crap. I got to put all this shit in here. God. I love you guys. You're so amazing. You guys make me feel bad and good because now I got to go make fun of Olivia. I gotta go like, Olivia, they helped out. Oh my God, you guys, everybody. You guys might want to stay because this is a big number. This is huge. Huge. It's the biggest. Might be the best. Some people say it's the best ever. Best ever. I got to put all these in. Bobby, you already donated tonight, Bobby. Gosh, you're amazing. Thank you. All right, got to put this one in. I wish I had an assistant, but my wife pussed out. Bobby, 3140. Outstanding. Here they all come. Charity Lamb. I like Charity. She's awesome. Charity, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you. You're amazing. Here we go. All right. And my God, people. Paul Rivera is in the house making a donation. I just was looking for $10. This means a lot. You guys are awesome. This helps with everything. This helps with our bills, keeps everything going, keeps the show funded. Fred, thank you so much coming in on Venmo. We appreciate you. You are awesome. I'm so tired. I completely forgot. I just looked at it 10 seconds ago. There it is. $20. Thank you, Fred. You are the shiznit. Let's see. Carl got in. Thank you, Carl. Just awesome. Carl, is that with a K? Is that Carl with a K? No, it's Carl with a C. It's your last name that was throwing me off, brother. And I've seen you on chat. I should know this. All right, there it is. Thank you. Last one. I think we're good. Janet. How can we forget Janet Crenshaw? Just a sweetie. Janet, thank you. You are the best. You guys, I'm in such a better mood that Olivia has found her job that she's happy with. It just takes the stress off me. And I'm so happy they got rid of her because she's going to be happy now. And I'm so happy that I'm away from Spreely and we're just doing our own thing. And you guys just constantly come through. And we love you, man. We love you so much. And we will continue to do this. I don't ever need to make it big. This is fine. We get to pay. We pay the rent or pay the mortgage. You know, we pay the teeth, get some groceries, those type of things. We don't need a second car. We don't need any of that crap. We just need the best lines ever in the movie Reality Bites. We got a full cup of coffee, a half a pack of cigarettes, and great conversation. What else do we need? We don't have the cigarettes, but we have the coffee every morning. And you can go to thedumshow.com and get your coffee. We appreciate you. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to go to bed now. You guys are awesome. I get to go rub it in Olivia's face. No, thank you. We will keep doing this. Olivia is a full-time nanny for one of the families that she was watching as the teacher, and she gets to go in-house. It's 9 to 5. It's 15 minutes away, and they're taking care of her. So, yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, everybody, listen, I love you. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching the Donut Friendly Show. I hate to take tips and run. I think I got them all. Did I get them all? No. Somebody else just sneaked it. Holy shit. Maddie, come. God, you guys. You're going to make me cry, man. I'm just getting all fucking emotional. God, love you. There it is. All right. That's good. We're good. Okay, stop. You guys, we're good. Amazing. Seriously. Stop. Save some for the rest of the month, please. You guys rock. That was probably the best live show we've done when it comes to the debates. I think there was enough. We kept it on time. We skipped only like 10 minutes of it, and I think everyone hopefully had a good time. Listen, we'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll have a recorded show tomorrow. We did a slap check this morning. I'll have a couple articles up for you. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for protecting us. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for taking care of us. We need you to grow so we can say we knew you when. Nah, man, I'll never be that way. I'll never be that way. I don't care how big it gets. They can give me $10 million. I'm never gonna not talk to the people on the show. I'll never do it. I fucking won't do it. I think it's horrible. I think Joe Rogan should be talking to his fans. I think Ben Shapiro should be talking to his fans. I will never not communicate with y'all. I just won't do it. I refuse. Thank you for tonight. That number, it's just fuck. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to keep doing, and you guys are making it possible. I will never forget that. Okay, can I go now? Have I kissed ass enough? I love y'all. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Peace, and take care of each other. See ya tomorrow. That was a good debate by Vance. I think they gained some ground. That's going to make a needle move. It's going to be a lot of commercials and a lot of talking points. They'll be able to replay a shit ton of that. And I think the loss of the night is Tim Walz calling himself a knucklehead. That's going to hurt him. I know it was kind of an endearing moment, but fuck him. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.